the most formidable alternative that we have. So we have conversations about this. The deputy, the president, the former prime minister throwing barbs at one another. So who's where, who needs to resign, who needs to leave the other person's party, who's an unwanted visitor. Okay, all those. Today being Monday, we shall have the conversation. And then, about 6 hours now, the price of fuel has gone up. Significantly so.
Yeah,
Petrol
you
is
you're loving
8
each other,
shillings.
and then Ipra says, "Pooh, have 8 shillings."
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Right. Now, this one, I'm waiting for Eric to explain it to me. Because
What?
every time I say, this oil prices, they confuse me completely. The price of fuel in this country defies anything that's happening in the international market. And there's always one way of explaining it. There's a body that's supposed to regulate these things. When they explain it, I'm even more confused. So,
Okay, so we'll bring Amze, all right? A contemporary of yours who will explain it to you now in your language. So,
Eric, how old do you think I am?
aren't you 85?
Wow.
No, Eric is a man who appreciates age. Thank you, Eric. Thereabouts. My teeth are slightly younger.
As long as
but,
you are anything above 50, yes, you're old. People in their 40s are in my age mate. People above that are, younger than me.
Wait a
That's
moment,
it.
Eric. You are trying to tell me that the standard by which we determine age is you and those of your...
Not we, I.
No.
You see, it's a perspective. From where I sit,
Anyone who's 40 is young.
Yes.
They're younger, definitely.
Yes, it's young. If you consider that, there are people who would look at someone like you and say, you are a grandpa, and yet you don't feel that.
Actually,
Sometimes
this one
you do.
isn't a question of feeling. I am genuinely old.
Good grief, CT. What? I am generally old. What?
No, I said,
Genuinely.
genuinely,
Old.
not generally. This is nothing general about it. It's just genuinely. I am.
It's a fact of the matter.
Yes.
So
Why is
anyway.
it that people want to run away from certain realities? I am old.
Okay.
This thing of young, old.
Old.
Young
Okay, so-
was
so-
many years ago.
So we'll have somebody who's worked in the oil and gas sector for many years, has served in the executive, in boards, understands the mathematics, all right? And this is Engineer Patrick Obath. So he'll be joining us at 7 to explain this whole story and the story around it. Why fuel prices rise, while fuel prices, when they rise, it appears like they've risen by a huge margin. And when they drop, it appears like they don't rise.
See, the question
they don't
I'm
drop
asking
with
is,
such a
do
huge margin.
they ever drop?
Yeah,
They
come
do?
on. Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes they drop by as
Sometimes.
much as 11 bob.
They drop by 11 bob.
Yes.
For how long?
At least a month.
At least until the next 14th. Every
least a
14th of the
month.
month, expect a change.
Yes.
Let me tell you why I'm asking this question is indeed there are times it is announced by midnight the oil prices will drop. You will go to some petrol stations and indeed the price will have dropped. Before you can even take a deep breath and exhale,
It's gone up again.
we are back exactly where we started. So
Anyway, let's start then with, everything else that's happening in the country. So we'll have a conversation about explaining, understanding the fuel price change every 14th. And for example, this particular one on what's happening. Then we'll also have the political conversation plus other conversations. But let's also have a conversation about COVID-19 in the world. So the numbers as they are. The Ministry of Health in Rwanda the government of Rwanda has already rolled out vaccination. You guys are talking about, I don't know, we're waiting for COVAX, I don't know through which direction, I don't know, it's because of supply. Rwanda, they already have the vaccines. They are rolling them out. Healthcare workers are getting the vaccine.
This is true. They are. Let's look at the numbers now around the world first, then we'll come back and look at, while some countries are going ahead with vaccinations, others are refusing vaccines. even those that are being offered to them. But let's look at the numbers. 109,387,000 COVID-19 cases in the world. We're looking at 81 million people having recovered from COVID-19, 25,353,512 currently infected patients with COVID-19 globally. Right? We're looking now at the top 10 countries again, and we're going from the USA to India, Brazil, Russia, UK, France, Spain, Italy, Turkey, and Germany. These are the countries with the highest number of COVID cases in the world. 28 million coming out of the US, 10 million in India, 9 million, almost 10 million in Brazil, 4 million in Russia and the UK, 3 million in France and Spain, 2.7, 2.5, 2.3 in Italy, Turkey, and Germany. So those are the numbers that we're looking at. We're still looking at dropping numbers globally. We are not seeing high cases in most of these countries like we have in the recent past. Let's look at this country now you've talked about, Eric. In Rwanda, 17,343 COVID-19 cases so far. What did they report yesterday? 76 new cases and 3 new deaths. They have begun their vaccine rollout, and they've started with health workers, realizing that regardless of it, they need to keep the health workers safe. And if more people get infected around the country, then those that are administering healthcare would have this barrier of protection, right? So that has begun in Rwanda. If we look at other news coming out of different parts of the world, Tanzania has refused COVID-19 vaccines, and they continue to promote traditional care for COVID and say, look, if there's COVID in the country, what we are saying is that use these traditional remedies. On the 2nd of February, we did hear from the health minister of Tanzania that they have no plans to accept COVID-19 vaccines. And it was after President Magufuli expressed doubt about the vaccines that were sourced outside of the country. And now, categorically, the government of Tanzania has said that they will not be accepting any COVID-19 vaccines from outside the country, and that they're insisting that all their citizens use traditional methods if they feel or get sick. All right. That's what's happening there. The UK, in terms of the vaccines, they had gone through health workers over the last 6 weeks over the last 4 weeks in terms of vaccinations, and they've now started to vaccinate older people above the age of 70 now have started to receive the vaccines in the UK, and they're going across the population, to make sure that they're able to do that. So we see this rolling out in different ways in different countries. Everybody's doing their own thing. Some people not doing much. Let's look at the numbers in Kenya really briefly, to see where things stand locally. And we know that, in terms of a date for vaccines to land in the country, let's just say we do not know. As Eric had said previously, let's just say sometime this year we'll get vaccines, okay? And 75 new cases in Kenya yesterday, no reported deaths. We're now looking at 102,000 cases in the country. So we wait in the meantime for what will happen.
What I would like at some point in the not too distant future is for us to be able to actually roll out and tell our listeners, as we talk about COVID vaccines and when we talk about COVID's ups and downs, just the number of countries who have begun the rollout, yes, and how the populations are responding to it. And the numbers in terms of percentage of the population have been vaccinated. And on that note, Israel, again, is leading on a very interesting front. They are already beginning to tell us what the impact of the vaccines are actually achieving. And they are seeing that there is a 94% drop in the infections that previously they were talking about since the rollout of the vaccine.
94% drop.
94.
Wow.
Yes. And you're talking about the population that have received the vaccine. Not everyone has received it, but from the population. Because there was the rate of infections that they had before. They know the period in which they've been vaccinating, and they're looking at the numbers, and there is a drop.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Yes.
It is.
So perhaps even as we talk about vaccines, the impact of the vaccines, in cases where, for instance, like in South Africa, where the particular vaccine that they chose is showing something dismal like only 22% efficacy. on this new variant, that again must also be mentioned because there is a population that was vaccinated by it, and one must talk about not only the impact, but also on the manufacturers, what it is they have done to either revamp it, turbocharge it, or do whatever it is you do to a vaccine to make it more effective.
That's true. Let's take a break at this point. 16 minutes after 6. The live stream is up. Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. See what's happening in the weather, and then we look at the headlines. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
When it comes to bridging the information gap to help strengthen the agricultural sector in our country, you can always rely on Farm Kenya to be the glue holding everything together. And now, courtesy of the partnership with Farmster, things couldn't be better. Introducing Farm Kenya platform, and it goes like this. Our SMS service will help farmers upload and publish their products without smartphones, while the Farm Kenya app will allow buyers locate, purchase from, and engage the farmers directly. So if you're a farmer, send a free SMS to 40446 and connect with buyers free for life. That's 40446. If you're a buyer looking for local produce, download the Farm Kenya app from Google Play Store or the Apple Store for free. Remember, ukulima sio shamba pekee. Ukulima ni digital. Ukulima ni Farm Kenya platform.
Kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Farm Kenya.
Brought to you by Farm Kenya and Farmster, working to secure your growth.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. The weather with Spice FM.
All right, after a rainy weekend, Nairobi will be partly cloudy this morning. A chance of rain later on at 17 degrees. We're going to look at highs of 26 and lows of 17. Cloudy conditions in Nyeri at 15, going to highs of 25 today. 28 will be the high in Nakuru. It's partly cloudy at 14. 15 degrees and clear skies in Eldoret, going to highs of 25. 30 the high in Kisumu, 21 and partly cloudy right now. It's 16 degrees, partly cloudy conditions in Kakamega. We'll see highs of 31 today, coming down to lows of 17. 26 degrees, mostly cloudy conditions in Mombasa, highs of 33. Highs of 32 in Malindi, cloudy at the moment at 26. Clear conditions in Kampala, stepping out of Kenya, going to highs of 28 and 21 will be the low today. It's cloudy in Dar es Salaam at 27, highs of 32. Highs of 24 in Johannesburg, coming down to lows of 13 and mostly clear at 17. Light rain in Lagos this morning at 28, highs will be 32. Highs of 33 in Kinshasa, where it's 25 at the moment. We're looking at sunny conditions in Beijing right around 1 o'clock. We'll see highs of 7 and lows of -5, 2 degrees and rain showers in Paris, highs of 7. Light rain in London this morning at 6, getting a little bit warmer in this part, highs of 13 and lows of 9. And Sunday night reads 2 degrees and partly cloudy in New York. Getting into Monday, we'll see highs of 2 and lows of 0.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Hey, okay, this is the mic.
94.4
It is 19 minutes after 6. A very good morning to you. Today being the 15th day of February 2021. It's the first Monday of the week. So who is online? Let us appreciate them.
Oh, everybody's online this morning. Makongeni Jogo Road, and that's Douglas Ogega. Kisumu's tuned in, and that's Saharan Wafula says, good morning, guys. 3 age groups is what Julia Kagituju wants you guys to know. There are 3 age groups: the old, the young, and yourself. Michael Ochieng is tuned
Yes.
in.
See?
Yeah?
Yes, I agree.
You agree? All right, Julia. Eric is in agreement with you. Michael Ochieng is tuned in from County 047. You know that one. Good morning, the dynamic trio. Headed to the Kawa station to board the Rero Eagle. That's Ragim Mwai this morning. Sam Waweru. Good morning, lady, doctor, and reverend. A doctor, a reverend, and a lady walked into a bar. Okay.
And
We'll talk about that later.
And the Reverend led them to heaven.
The reverend led them to heaven. There's a lot of imagery here. We'll pick it apart later.
Mm-hmm.
Chebo Abdallah Valley says Kaptumo Nandi is tuned in this morning. Ken Adi Wizzy tuning from Kiganjo in Thika. Alan Joel says good morning. Spicing it in Roiro. Minneapolis is tuned in with Waterman Jeffrey. Bavo King is tuning from South Africa this morning and says good morning, my people. Kaha Sukari tuned in. Nicholas Langat tuned in from Kericho. Mombasa, that's where Robert is. Brian Kuyanda is tuned in, says, happy Valentine's to you. I love you all. It's a new day that the Lord has made, as Eric said. Let's rejoice and be glad in it.
Yeah, we love you very much, Brian.
Theophilus Chuyeng is tuned in from County 046. You know it.
Theophilus, the love of God.
Yeah?
Chalo Nzioki is tuned in this morning from Tasia. Lawrence tuned in from Masinga Dam this morning. And Cyprian Mora is tuned in and said, it's Monday, new week, happy to be alive. Rogers Lai tuned in this morning from County 001. And Master Dan is tuned in from Beijing. Everybody's tuned in, guys. Good morning.
Happy New Year from the person in China.
Oh, it is
Yes.
Chinese New Year. Well, thanks
Yeah,
for joining us.
Chinese New Year. It's the year of the what? The ox or the bull, something. Something, I think the year of the ox. Very good. CT, today's proverb.
Without a leader, black ants are confused.
Without a leader, black ants are confused. And there's nothing as angry as a confused black ant.
Okay.
The red ones are the ones that one should really be concerned about. They're a creepy lot. You never hear them, feel them creeping up your trouser. You only know they exist. It's like there's a choir master who says, "March, then stop," then it goes, "Bite."
Yes.
When they sink their pincers into you.
Yes, then, and they choose very carefully where to bite. Very carefully.
They're very strategic.
The net result is you are going to remove that trouser. You will remove it. While dancing at the same time.
Of course.
Okay. So let's look at the headlines.
Let's.
Yes.
So it is the year of the ox, but MPs seek to block weekends in cells. This is the front page of the Daily Nation. Kamata, the proposal by Deputy President William Ruto's allies, had to be them, according to this, was informed by the arrest of perceived government critics on Fridays in order to have them spend the weekend behind bars, a trend popularly known as Kamata. So now they're looking to have this removed. They don't like it very much.
Are they people who've been arrested on a Friday and have spent the weekend in the coolers?
Have there been people?
Yes.
Really?
No, I'm not talking about the distant past. I'm talking about like last
recently.
week, the year before.
Okay, let me tell you.
Recently.
So on the back of deteriorating relations between President Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto, the DP's allies have stressed the urgency to enact a bill seeking to discourage arbitrary arrests and detentions. The bill was informed by the arrest of perceived government critics on Fridays in order to have them spend the weekends behind bars, a trend popularly known as Kamata Fridays. The Criminal Procedure Code Amendment Bill 2020, sponsored by Belgut MP Nelson Koech, seeks to amend the Criminal Procedure Code to compel an officer in charge of a police station to release on mandatory bond a person arrested without a warrant and who can't be presented to court within 24 hours. The bill makes it illegal to detain a suspect accused of an offence other than that of murder, treason, robbery with violence, and attempted robbery with violence by amending section of the Criminal Procedure Code to provide mandatory execution for bond for such persons arrested without a warrant. At the moment, it's left to the discretion of the officer in charge of a police station to issue a bond. The bill was published in November and is due to be introduced in the National Assembly. Koech says he's confident the House Business Committee, chaired by Speaker Justin Muturi, will prioritize and speed up its introduction into the House. So, unless these 4 charges are brought against somebody and they're arrested on a Friday, then you should be able to have bond executed and then, come home. And they're saying it should not be left to the whims of the officer in charge of that particular police station. But that is the rule. Should you be arrested on a Friday and it's not these 4 charges that are being leveled against you,
So
then you should
now
be able to have your bond executed. And
you have gone and presented the said officers with the sort of charges that they should levy against you.
no, you're saying unless it's these charges.
Yes.
Unless it's these ones.
Yes,
then-
I'm getting it, and I'm saying what stops them from having those very charges?
Well, in that case, it's fine. It's just that when you come and say it, robbery with violence
Where did
or
you-
murder or
Who did you
terrorism.
kill?
Remember, it's a charge.
Yes.
You haven't gone to court. Charge.
But there's usually material or substance upon which this charge is
Then you'll
levied.
take this person to court on Monday and say, charging them with murder.
Yeah.
They have spent the weekend in court.
In prison. But see,
In
the thing
prison.
is,
Monday,
but the thing is, what they're saying,
different story.
right? But what they're saying, you bring in another charge and say, "Oh, charge sheet was misplaced with another one." That's why.
What
we
I'm
held.
trying to tell you is this.
Nothing stops
Thank you.
the government from arresting you.
Yes,
If they
and
want-
charging with whatever they want to charge you with. This is the point I'm trying to make here. You think
Especially
that
a government that does not obey court orders, or a government that where a law is just a proposal.
Suggestion.
so what makes you think if you pass this law? Okay.
Well, the thing is, I think it's a good thing that this amendment is actually passed, because then it means that ordinary Kenyans who are arrested on Fridays and who end up spending days in police custody
We'll also get this
will
protection.
also get this protection.
Absolutely.
Actually,
Can
you
you imagine
know,
the way you just kuja hapa, where is your ID? Ndani,
Till Monday, then you go and answer a charge Monday morning.
loitering.
Come on.
most of us don't really know what our rights are before the law. 2, we do not know the law when it comes to these matters. 3, we are intimidated by the police anyway. Okay, we will not argue with the police. Okay, so sheepishly, see, I got it right that one.
Well done.
It's Monday, come on. Okay, you will just walk into that cell and wait for whatever charges that they decide. My friend, you are the assumption is that this will prevent you from being arrested and charged. Wait and see.
Aguna.
Wait and see.
Anyway, good luck to them.
You
as
will
they
be
take this
parking on a not so very yellow line. Huh? Murder.
and that's it.
Murder.
Oh wow.
Go and deal with it now.
Then come Monday morning. Oh no.
Wait, you're not.
You're not
oh
the one?
no! Files got mixed up.
Yeah.
We are truly sorry.
We
Yours was
meant
a tra-
Titus, not Timothy.
Yours was no, it was a traffic offense. No, he's right. We're sorry,
Should
but
not
you.
have been- and they'll just tell you sorry, and you can go home.
Come next Friday. You pull another stunt. What is the other one?
Terrorism.
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 Yes.
Treason.
Yeah.
Treason.
Yes.
Robbery
And this
with
time they take
violence.
you to a different police station. My friend, this. Oh. Right. Just pass it by all means. Pass it. And see if it'll change anything.
Okay. State raids your pocket to fund a bigger budget. Page 8 of the Standard this morning. The Treasury is betting on reversal of COVID-19 relief measures and new taxes to milk more cash out of a bleeding economy. Okay. So, we start with that issue of the motorists who are going to feel, and it's not just motorists. When you say motorists, it means everything else. People who consume fuel, they'll pass it on to others. Draft estimates released last month had put the spending plan for the year from July 1st to 2.968 trillion shillings. That's in the next financial year, which is 48 billion shillings lower than the new figures released over the weekend. Now there's a new budget, which has taken us to 3.01 trillion shillings. The Treasury is betting on the reversal of the COVID-19 relief measures, a raft of new levies such as the digital service tax, minimum tax of 1% on a company's gross turnover to raise more revenues. The state's hunger for more cash comes despite it acknowledging that the economy is in bad shape. It's a sure warning to taxpayers to prepare for an ultra-aggressive taxman. Are you ready for that? Ultra-aggression
From who?
from KRA. According to CS Okuriatani, he says, going forward, we expect revenue collection in the financial year 2021 to 2022 to spring back, buoyed by the improving economic environment, tax policy, and revenue administration measures that we have put in place. So, the gist of this whole story is that, according to what the Treasury had taken to Parliament, initial estimates that the next financial year's budget was going to be around 2.96 trillion. They have revised that, and it's now going to be about 3.01 trillion shillings. And then, to finance that, it means that they have to look for creative ways of getting cash out of you. And that's what Dominic Comondi here, the writer of this story, says, milking more cash out of a bleeding economy. Getting milk out of a stone. Be prepared, because things are going to be thick in coming days. Have a conversation on that. Good morning. It's 6:30. So let's see what's happening on the roads, and then we look at more headlines. Good morning.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Did you know that knowing your HIV status is simple? You can visit your nearest health center where you will be tested for free, or you can test yourself using the self-kits sold at chemists for 500 shillings only. If you test HIV positive, don't fear, because there is medication that will allow you to live your normal life. You will also be counseled on how to live with HIV and fulfill your life goals or dreams. Knowing your HIV status as a parent is beneficial for yourself and your loved ones. Expectant mothers with HIV, did you know it's possible to deliver a healthy, uninfected baby? Visit a health facility near you during your antenatal visits to get proper information, advice, and treatment for HIV. HIV treatment can improve your overall health and can protect an unborn baby from contracting HIV before, during delivery, and after birth. We must not exclude or discriminate against our HIV-positive counterparts, because living with the virus is not a curse. Follow the Ministry of Health's instructions to protect ourselves from HIV and also to protect ourselves from the coronavirus that causes COVID-19. Do you know your status? This message has been brought to you by the National AIDS Control Council.
Thika Road's traffic starts at the Garden City Mall today. If you're using Thika Road right now, you want to avoid the service lanes from Survey. The traffic starts all the way beyond that. Utali on the drift, moving beyond Utali, then it moves quicker, but don't use service lanes for now. If you can avoid it, please do that. Let's look at Mombasa Road. It's moving slowly this morning. Everybody's crying about the fuel prices today and saying, okay, so what happens now? Well, very quickly that has changed. There was some flooding that took place in some parts of the city yesterday because of the rain, so you want to be very careful, especially around industrial area. You don't know how deep those puddles are, so as you're approaching that, please do so with caution, or if you can avoid them completely, please go ahead and do so. The roads have been flooded, also some around some parts of Mombasa Road up there where the construction is going on, just around the SGR, so please be careful there as well. All right, so nothing beyond that really going on right now, maybe still early times. We'll have a look in a short while. Talk to us, however, SpiceFMKE on Twitter. You bump into something, let us know, or text us on 40127. It's Monday morning. Let's keep things moving.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
It's 94.7. Jared Akuno says, from Kendube, he says, this is the best piece of legislation. This proposed amendment to the law on arrests. Uliza wa levy. They will tell you.
Arrested and stayed until Monday.
They will tell you. Anyway, more headlines.
You know, I often get very, very confused sometimes. Maybe someone can help me. I honestly do.
Right.
When I look at the headlines in the papers, the confusion, I think, was heightened over the weekend. When I looked at the headlines that the Nation had, the Standard had, once again, the headline was political. It was Ruto this or the other, Raila this or the other. And I'm looking at today's headlines, and it's not as though it's different. It's virtually the same thing. Now, the one which takes the cup for me today is this one, the headline on the Star, new pledges. It's actually on page 6 of the Star, where this is what the reporter has to say. It says, the headline, stop criticizing government from within, Ruto tells Raila. Accuses Odinga of distracting the Jubilee administration from its development programs. Why I'm saying it confuses me is this. Is this a deliberate ploy by people in top political positions to keep saying this and the other and then going around it some more and then going left and right, so that I know the president is a president and is in Jubilee, that much I know. Okay? I know Raila is in ODM and is in a handshake. I know the deputy president is in Jubilee. Then I also know he's in UDA.
He's in Jubilee in opposition.
Yes.
It's like SPLM.
Yes. So in fact, I wouldn't even call it
in South
Jubilee.
Sudan.
He's not in Jubilee.
There's SPLA in government and SPLA in opposition.
Yes, exactly. So is it Jubilee or Jubilee? Because so I'm looking at all this and I'm thinking, you have a leader of the opposition whose job was to ensure that the government stays on the straight and narrow. You point out things that the government is doing wrong. Now you have a handshake. I am beginning to get the impression when you have a handshake, you're not supposed to point out these things. All right? But then, if you are then in government and then you point out things which you feel the government has not been doing, and you are in a position of someone like the deputy, then it is all right. You are setting the government which you are part of straight. Then, when this person who is supposed to head the opposition is in a handshake, and they do the same thing and say, I think the government is wrong here, they didn't do this. Suddenly, they should stop criticizing the government from within. Now, where my confusion comes in is who is within and who is without. Okay? What do we have? This thing that we seem to have in Kenya, what is it?
It's a mishmash. It's what former CJ Mutunga said, even he doesn't understand. It's a dictatorship, he called it.
What is it? It's not even a dictatorship, if you ask me. No.
What we have, CT, is we have a government. We have people who are in government. When they talk, depending on whether they've woken up on the right side of the bed, they'll be praising what they have done. If they've woken up on the left side of the bed, they'll be criticizing and castigating what has not been done by those that should have done it. Okay? Just take it that way.
I will take it that way, but my confusion has actually not
been abated.
No, I mean not at all. What exactly do we have here?
I don't know what's going on.
What we have is people who are just eating from our coffers.
We are
sustaining people.
And every now and then they say something.
We are sustaining people who, on one hand, will claim that they have done so much to change the lives of the people. And then on the other hand, they'll claim that not much has been done to change the lives of the people. Because those who should have done it are no longer doing it. They're now focusing on something else.
Meanwhile, they're all inside together.
Yes.
You see this brings me to one simple perspective. That, and this is something that I was thinking about on the weekend. I don't think the problem is with the people who are making utterances. The problem is with me. Why I'm saying the problem is with me is because I have confused politicians, just the term politician and the term leader. I have made them one and the same thing, and they're not. The thing is, and where my confusion lies, is that many of these people who claim they're politicians, no question about it, but they also claim to be leaders. My problem arose when I started believing that they were leaders. Therein lay my confusion, because I was thinking, but if you are confusing people, so how exactly are you leading them? What are you doing?
You're not. You're not really leading them if they're confused. About
Where's the
this.
clarity in your narrative? Because again, you say this today, tomorrow you've done a complete about turn and you're saying something completely different. So then I said, okay.
Wewe ndio shida.
No, mimi ndio shida. Mimi ndio shida. I'm assuming that the fact that someone is a top-ranking politician, that of necessity they are a leader. No, they're not. And I think that confusion that I'm in, I'm sure there are many other Kenyans who share it with
A
me.
number of people.
Sure,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
So now that we're talking about politicians and leaders, we just talk about then the return of Dr. Mukhisa Kitui from Geneva, UNCTAD. He arrived yesterday, and there was much pomp and color.
There was.
Yes, and
was.
he had an entire entourage and convoy of vehicles and people and supporters lining up Jogoo Road and Outer Ring Road to welcome him home and to tell him, "Karibu nyumbani."
Even towns, and I was being told by the gentleman who sells me papers in the morning, he told me yesterday there was a traffic jam. Now then I remember yesterday was Sunday. So I asked him, traffic jam where? And he told me, along these roads. He said, my friend, the number of vehicles and just the pomp. I said, it is a good thing.
Right.
Yes.
So he's here and he says he wants to go for the top seat and he'd like now to present himself to Kenyans.
That is also a good thing.
Nice, good.
It is a good thing.
So I also feel and I agree that it's a good thing to have such people coming out and saying, I'd like you to consider me, because it's about time we started thinking. We're having that conversation about alternative leadership the other day, right? So what are those alternatives? We keep saying, but who is presenting themselves? People are presenting themselves.
People are presenting
But then
themselves.
the question I will have to ask is, what qualifies you as an alternative leader?
Well, here he is, and he's talked about, what he's been able to do, sitting at the helm of UNCTAD all these years, having then worked with several international organizations from the United Nations. Okay, here, UNCTAD as well, but then other United Nations agencies, being able to administer his duties really well for him to stay in that position for as long as he had. And then also being recognized as a good manager in terms of being able to operate and administer his duties. And then for a long time, the narrative has been that if you're able to manage in such a way when it comes to the operations of people and also then the operations of money repetitively and over a period of time, then you see yourself being able to do this for a country. And if you have that experience, then why not be able to come and show people what it is that you can do? If you've been able to do it on a global scale, in a global organization, then why not be able to come in and try and see if you can do this for your country?
It is a positive narrative, but his career didn't begin with his being in UNCTAD.
No, it began with him being in government here in Kenya.
No,
Even
no,
before that.
no.
Before that.
Before that, he was a leading light. He was among the people who were in the opposition, people who were saying there must be change then. Yes, he even became a minister.
Yeah.
But you see, if we were to audit the performance of would-be presidents, then we must go a little way back. Not at the time that they're highlighting. That is a tick.
Yeah.
But let's go further back and ask, okay, this one tick, this one tick. Here, before we give the tick, can you explain A, B, C, D? What am I saying? I'm saying it is good when somebody comes and talks to us about what he has done. Because he's setting the platform for what I think we should be looking at when we're talking about leaders. Fine, you want to be, what have you done?
Sure, and we talk about performance contracts here all the time,
Yes.
right? In terms of how you've been able to, do your duty. So if somebody comes out and says, "Look, in my life, before I even have, or if I am given the opportunity to serve publicly, this is what I have been able to do, and this is my track record," right? So can you give me an opportunity? I think sometimes that's what's missing in leadership, that you don't see somebody can come and be very sensational about them wanting to be your leader. But then gone most times are the questions, what are they actually good at? What have they actually been able to do in a position
what are you
of,
about?
What are you about? Have you sat as a manager in particular office? Have you done 1, 2, 3?
All that is good,
Present
but
that.
it has been watered down with the county system, devolution has watered that down. And I'm going to explain why. With the devolution, people said we need technocrats,
Yeah.
people who have a background in this and the other. And many of them have let us down terribly.
Yep.
They have mismanaged that portfolio.
Because you did not bring in successful managers, you just brought in a manager. So that's the thing.
You see, Eric,
Not all managers are good managers.
Eric, when you say you want a manager and you're asking the voter to vote for a manager, they know they have voted for a manager.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
The good and the bad now, they will understand from the outcome of that person's performance.
Yes.
Now, if you tell me you're working for this international corporation, those people have checks and balances, my friend.
You won't go and play.
They have systems. You are going to
You
do
will work.
as you're told. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all that counts for nothing in this country if, one, you don't belong to a political party that resonates in that region. That's number one. Yes, you do not break down this conversation and this narrative you have to the point where the Mwananchi says, okay, we are very happy about what you did there, but how does that relate to us here?
Right.
Thirdly, people do not elect. We don't elect based on this wonderful performance you had in whichever setup you're in.
The good thing, though.
So how do you ensure that this thing that you've done, which is completely good, how do you communicate it so that it becomes something that the Mwananchi can relate to and so can give you the requisite votes that you require?
The good thing, though, is that Dr. Mukhisa Kitui is not just a technocrat. He's also somebody who has cut his teeth in politics.
In politics in this country.
Right?
previously.
For many years, he was in Ford, Kenya. He was there campaigning. He was elected in parliament more than once. He was a minister. He's played the politics. He understands the politics. He understands that whole political game at the national level of the political parties and aligning yourself with the political party. He understands all those things. He has been there. He has succeeded. He has been voted out. He has been there. So he'll not be playing this game from just
actually,
a
the
very
voting, the
green-
voting out thing for me is perhaps the best experience that someone can have. Painful, difficult. A wake-up call doesn't get better than that.
It reminds you.
It reminds you of where you got to, and that this Mwananchi is actually the person who actually gave you the things that you
have.
But Eric, you see, even as we talk about this, you know where my mind has gone to? Liberia. Who is the president of Liberia?
George.
Where?
What was his career?
Football.
Did he work for the UN?
No.
World Bank?
No.
Okay.
Good manager?
It's up in the air. 12 minutes to 7. It's a good conversation we're having, looking at the headlines. Keep it right here. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Tengisa kidole, tengisa kidole, agano kidole, agano kidole, agano.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, so more
Mornings.
headlines. So last week, there was a full-page statement released by Kakuzi, and it was talking about that small matter that they've had with their neighbors in Murang'a, and the matter of compensation, and them announcing that they've reached an out-of-court settlement with these people who had complained about, mistreatment by Kakuzi workers. So there's a story on page 9 of the Nation today that says, so how much are the victims going to get? 696 million shillings has been agreed as a settlement for victims of the Kakuzi, what shall we say, human rights violations. And then lawyers are going to get 500 million shillings in legal fees. No, not 500 from the 696. It's an extra 500.
To be paid by Kakuzi.
To be paid by, yes, Kakuzi's parent company, Camellia PLC. So 696 going to the victims, and then 500 million shillings going to the law firm Leyday. Also, they look at what they had agreed to do. So remember, Kakuzi agreed to form a number of things. One of them was that they're going to look at the land. They had donated some piece of land to the local residents at some point. They're going to look back at that boundary and reestablish the boundaries. They're also going to establish an organization within themselves that will be looking at all atrocities. And this one, I'm just looking for it quickly, what they're calling it. Resolving grievances. The agriculture company has stated that it will develop an operational grievance mechanism as a way of resolving grievances internally, but this move has been rejected by lobby groups that rallied victims to take Kakuzi to court. They challenged the legality of the mechanism, saying it's not backed by the Kenyan constitution and it is also limited to the discretion of the company. The other thing that they had also proposed to do was to establish a technical working group to survey and demarcate land which it had previously donated to the communities. The victims have rejected this, saying the affected communities have been left out of the proposal and thus gone against the spirit of public participation. Third proposal by Kakuzi is to pacify the residents by engaging in corporate social responsibility initiatives that will see it construct 2 community social centers in Kenyangi and Munyo, also fund charcoal kilns for the production of charcoal and engagement of safety marshals to patrol private roads and footpaths. This one also, residents are saying, apana, not enough. And in fact, they've been backed by the Kenya Human Rights Commission, which also is up in arms saying, look, a number of these things that you're saying, in fact, Kenya Human Rights Commission is going back to the County Assembly of Murang'a and saying you should block any plans to renew the land leases held by Kakuzi until claims on historical land injustices are resolved. They're saying let's go back and look at it all. Okay? So yes, that compensation has been agreed on, but now, bado mapambano. So it's a journey that's going to take a while longer to resolve this particular matter.
There's a matter that has actually featured on and off in the media, and I'm saying featured because it's a first. Unusual, it's a first. And it's something within the Roman Catholic Church. A lady, the first name I can pronounce easily, Natalie. The second one is a little difficult, but I will try. Bequat. Becquart. Right. This lady is a French nun, and she was appointed Under Secretary of the Synod of Bishops in the Catholic Church, becoming the first woman in that position, and she will have voting rights in the Synod.
Telling you, it's just happening.
Yes. People who are critics of the hierarchy, the male-dominated hierarchy in the Catholic Church, says yes, but we still don't have somebody in the position of a priest, and we don't have women who can be bishops, and we don't have women who can be cardinals. But I'm saying one step is a forward movement.
Yep.
And this is a significant. They've never had voting rights.
Yep.
Now one person can vote. Again, the critics say one person voting, what difference will it make? Oh, it makes a huge difference. The difference is that there is now a lady in that hallowed hall where men,
there wasn't before.
It was an all-male membership for the longest time possible.
Yep.
Yes.
It's a movement. It's a positive movement. Yeah. There are 2 stories on page 2 of the Standard. One is about a missing lawyer who, according to family, was abducted. The family of a lawyer who went missing under mysterious circumstances has claimed that he was abducted. Ben Kayai, an advocate practicing in Nairobi, was last seen a week ago on Sunday evening when he left his house in South Sea to run some errands. He did not return. His brother Nick claims the lawyer was waylaid along the way and abducted. He was driving a hired vehicle, a Toyota Fielder, which was found abandoned near the CID training school, still within South Sea. His disappearance was reported on Wednesday, and the family informed that the car he was driving before his disappearance had also been towed to the station. The brother Nick now says videos show Ben was abducted at 6 p.m. on Sunday from right outside the CID college. Since then, they have not heard anything about him. Now, witnesses to the incident, who are mainly boda riders, say they thought that the lawyer was being arrested by police. The way it appeared, it's like, these people have come, the boda people are just looking at it, oh, you're Meshiko Hasana police. It apparently turns out police are unaware of something like that, no such operation. The man is missing. The second story is a bit bizarre. It talks about, so let's start with this. On the 26th of July last year, Reverend Peter Kania Kariuki, the senior-most cleric of the Presbyterian Church of East Africa, succumbed to COVID-19 related complications at a Nairobi hospital. About 2 months later, on November 22nd, Nairobi businessman Amos Ngata Muiruri died at a hospital in Nairobi after undergoing surgery. Unknown to their families, however, the two men were doing business from their graves and transacting huge sums from the other side. The family of the late Kania is now in shock after it emerged that he was under investigation by the CID for an offense that happened months after he was buried. The family of the late Ngatia is equally in shock after 2.8 million shillings vanished from his bank account. The case of the two men involved in crime was brought to attention of the DCI, and investigations have revealed that the theft was committed by fraudsters who forged details of the dead men and used their identities to commit the crimes. So you're dead, you are, already buried, but there are people who are aware of that and they forge your identity and they can, like now this one, 2.8 million shillings withdrawn from the bank accounts.
Gosh. Over what period of time?
We're talking about somebody who died in November, just the other day.
So money was being withdrawn on a daily basis.
Yep. Yep.
Because if you do not exceed the minimum threshold, you don't really attract attention.
You don't.
No.
Yeah. So over time,
it's multiple withdrawals, and the phones are the ones that are being used to make the bank transactions, and you don't realize. And then the other one, you realize that police have actually started an investigation because you're committing a crime, and yet you are not alive. They come and realize the person that, wait, this number is registered to this person, but there's an issue. Quickly, what's the headline in the Business Daily? You haven't told us today.
No, I haven't, because I was reading some interesting stories here. But let me leave it at that. Let me leave the interest and focus. The Treasury in Kenya has set aside 1.2 billion to fund Kenya's activities at the United Nations Security Council, where the country is serving the first leg of its 2-year term. This reflects a net increase of 1.2 billion. Of course it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The additional funding is to cater for shortfall in personnel emoluments and operationalization of the United Nations. Goodness gracious me, what on earth is this person writing? Let me just explain it. We are taking this appointment that we have at the United Nations Security Council seriously, and we're ensuring that when it comes to the personnel needs and everything that is required
to run that office,
that we have not only just budgeted, there's adequate preparation. This often means you don't just budget, but you also set aside money so that money can be directed towards those operations.
And not much money, only 2.6. How many billion shillings?
It's not really much money. It's just 1.2 billion.
Okay.
Yes.
Not much.
No. It's just a drop when you consider the sort of budgets that we have.
1.2 billion shillings for an office, not a ministry, just an office.
And it's not as though it's going to one person.
Yeah.
Office means people who run it and
everything
etc.
Yeah, keep it right here for more conversations. Good morning. It's now 7 o'clock.
Sugar and spice.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
Okay. There's a serious traffic jam on Mombasa Road today, right around Gateway Mall as you're trying to go in the direction of the city. It is an absolute mess and things are very thick this morning. All right. And we've also seen that on Thika Road, the traffic has backed up even as far back as Roy Sambo. It's not moving, guys. So Mombasa Road, Thika Road. And you know what they say? Once there's traffic on Mombasa Road, everywhere else feels the pinch. Kiambu Road, already a nightmare this morning. Lanes have doubled, tripled, quadrupled. And trying to join Muthaiga Square today is not going to be fun. Let's look at Langata Road. Thika Road is looking all right. There was a nasty accident that took place just off Langata Road over the weekend. And we're still dealing with the dregs of that, unfortunately. Hopefully it doesn't affect traffic going down Langata Road all the way down towards the T-Mall roundabout. Out towards Nyayo Stadium slows down considerably. There's serious puddles of water, most in a lot of areas in industrial area. Please approach with caution so you don't get stuck. Let's see what it looks like in a short bit. Spice of MKE on Twitter is how you can reach us. Text us on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. 2.5 minutes
after 7 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. We thank you very much for tuning in. This is our second hour, and we will be on air until 10 o'clock. We are now live on KTN Home. Welcome to our audience on KTN Home. We are glad that you joined us. We hope you had a lovely weekend. We begin this hour, as we begin all other hours, with the day's proverb. C.T. Muga.
Without a leader, black ants are confused.
Without a leader, black ants are confused. Okay. Okay. And you said black ants and red ants. You know the black ants, the ones that on the ground and then you step on them and they make this noise and they are vicious. They are vicious in attack.
Black ants are extremely vicious. Red ants are sneaky and equally vicious.
Very sneaky, aren't they?
Very sneaky, vicious. Yes. But if you were to take this story of the ants and take it to Latin America, specifically to the Amazon, you will find that they have species of ants that can actually eat people.
Come on.
Okay, let me leave the story there.
All together eat somebody, or like one ant grows into like a monstrous ant and gobbles up somebody?
This thing of watching horror movies on weekends, you really must stop.
Surely.
I'm just thinking.
I mean, if I said that piranhas or barracudas also eat people who eat, I mean, is it one barracuda and one piranha? Surely. It's a school of them. So
it's an army of ants that comes together and decides, all right, we're going to eat this person in South America.
Yes, it isn't one of these things as, let's say you find an army of them and you sort of like walk through them. By the time you get to the other end, it's just your skeleton walking.
Now who watches movies? See?
No. I'm just trying to tell you how to rein in your imagination.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
For the purposes of this conversation.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. So, starting midnight, the price of fuel has gone up, okay? And this, as happens every 14th of every month, in accordance with the law, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority releases the new prices that are going to run for the next 1 month. And basically, they just do what they're supposed to do. In this particular explanation, they're saying they take into account the weighted average cost of imported refined petroleum products, the changes in the maximum allowed petroleum pump prices in Nairobi are going therefore to be up by shillings and 19 cents for super petrol, 5 shillings and 51 cents per litre for diesel, and 5 shillings and 32 cents per litre for kerosene. So a number of explanations here. How much we acquired the oil from, how much it cost us, the landed cost of this product. And then now we start factoring in. There's various taxes here and there. There's 8% VAT. There's I don't know what. And this, all that brings the price of the product to whatever you're going to be paying now for the next 1 month, which is going to be 8 bob more expensive for super petrol. Okay? Now, CT, many times when you talk about this and we say every month this will change, there are times when the price is actually reduced. There are times when the price goes up. And they explain and say this is going by how much the landed cost of product was in that particular month, in the preceding month, which is the product is going to be consumed in the country for a month. And this is all done through oil companies coming together, participating in what is called now the open tender system. And in the open tender system, you come in and you place your bid. You say, I'd like to supply the amount of product that's required to run for a month. And the one with the lowest bid wins. And they're the ones that bring. Now, your issue here usually is you don't feel the drop. You always feel the rise.
Well, I read about the drop. I read about it. They even tell you in advance what it might drop by. But the increase is something that, in my mind, maybe it's a figment of my imagination, but that it's the constant reality. That our oil prices, even when COVID was at its peak, and we are told that oil prices fell to an all-time low. Again, this story of landed cost was prominent. You see, at the time when we bought this oil, this was the price. So COVID notwithstanding, 1 year later. So I asked myself, so when we purchase oil, we buy this thing in bulk for a whole year. And at the time we bought it, it was all very expensive. So despite this drop, everything is still going to remain high simply because, as we are told, at the time when we bought it, this was the price. I find it confusing up to this point. Even you say people get together, the lowest bid, what I hear and what I feel, cartel. These people conspire together and said, no, you get it this time. Maybe it's a conspiratorial mind, but no, you get it this time. How? Because if indeed these reductions were real, why is it then, for instance, the simple cost of producing fuel? Because a great deal of our fuel is generated by using generators. And generators use fuel. Something as simple as that.
Our fuel is generated by using
our
generators.
electricity
okay.
is generated by fuel. Something as simple as that, I would feel it directly, because if the price of fuel goes down, then I would argue, the price of electricity has also gone down. Confusing, because these things simply don't happen.
You're always in a state of confusion.
I am when it comes to these things. So I stop thinking about it. If they increase it, fine. If they decrease it, fine. I never worry that it has gone up or down. It's fine.
Let's bring in somebody who understands this matter clearly, right?
Yes.
Engineer Patrick Obath has worked in the oil and gas sector for very many years. Now he, sits at a position where he advises. So he's a chair of various boards, but he still gives consultation and advice to people who are investing in the oil and gas sector. But he's worked in this sector for very many years, working in the refineries, working in the oil companies, managing one of the biggest oil marketing companies in the country. And so he understands this matter very well. Good morning, Dr. Obath.
Good morning. Good morning, Eric.
Welcome to the Situation Room, and we're glad that you could join us.
Thank you very much.
You've heard Siti Muga and his confusion. Let's just say hello to him, just to calm him down first.
Good morning, Siti. How are you?
Patrick, I am very well. How have you been?
Very fine, thank you.
You look well.
Yeah, I'm feeling very well. When you're confined by corona, you sort of end up starting to keep yourself busy within the confines. So exercise becomes a great thing.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
Yes.
But you're always one for keeping fit and staying healthy. So I think it's in keeping with what you've always done.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But now the confines are different.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So,
Excellent.
let's
Yeah.
just start from the very beginning. Price goes up.
Yeah.
Price, we are told, comes down. CT does not hear it coming down.
I don't feel it.
He just doesn't even feel it coming down. What is this
Right.
that happens every 14th? And what is the genesis of this 14th of every month prices fluctuating?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that the whole of the government decided that they were going to have a fixed way of pricing. They developed a pricing formula which is managed by the Energy and Petroleum Regulation Authority, EPRA, and within that, the elements that you spoke about earlier are all in there. So it's a landed cost of fuel, which includes the handling cost at the port, and that includes putting all the taxes that are required into the price. Then you transport it up to the nearest depot of the Kenya Pipeline Company or the oil company, and that is added into the formula, the cost of transportation. And obviously, the cost of transportation by the pipeline is the cheapest compared to the cost of transportation by truck. So, for example, if you're going to Mtitwandei, you don't have a depot nearby, so you either arrive from Nairobi or from Mombasa. Preferably from Mombasa, because then you're going up in the same direction,
Right.
and you have not included that the tariff for taking it to Nairobi and then bringing it back. Yeah. So it's built up to that depot, and then from there, you then build it up from the depot where it is loaded up to the petrol station where it is being sold. But that is averaged out within a particular area. So when you look at what is called the wholesale margin, which is the landed cost plus the bringing it up to the depot, there is a wholesale margin, which is the price that goes to the oil marketer, which is their margin for their handling, their investment, all their stuff that they do. Yeah.
Yep.
And then there is a transport margin, which pays the transporter. And then there's a retail margin, which pays the person at the petrol station.
Yep.
Now, the retail margin, the wholesale margin, and the transport margin, and the pipeline margin are all fixed. And they have been fixed for a long time. So the money that each of those organizations makes is almost fixed per unit, and all they're fighting for now is volume. How much volume can they get? And that way they sort of make more profit, as it were.
Okay.
So the biggest determinant on the cost of fuel is the international cost, the landed cost at Kenya, at the port of Mombasa. And this one fluctuates based on an indexed price. So it is indexed either on, ours is indexed on ADNOC, which is the Middle East. Although most people see Brent or West Texas, which is the more of the global one, but there is a Middle East index called ADNOC, and the prices that we buy at are indexed on the Middle East. And that is because most of the fuel that we buy in Kenya comes from the Middle East. So it is best to
benchmark
index
it
it
to
from
that.
there.
Yes.
Yes. Now, one of the things that we have an advantage of in Kenya compared to other parts of the world is that there is a surplus, a big surplus of refining capacity in the Middle East. So with the refining capacity in the Middle East very much underused, the cost of fuel coming out of the Middle East is almost about 10 to 15% cheaper than if you had to refine it somewhere else in the world. So if you look at the price, the purchase price of oil, of the fuel that comes to Kenya, compared to the price of fuel that is sort of, say, bought in Rotterdam, we are at that amount cheaper, just on buying it. And then you've got to ship it. So if you have to buy it in Rotterdam and bring it here, the shipping cost will cut out that, would actually make it even more.
Yeah.
So the elements that go into that landed cost is the cost at the Middle East plus the cost of shipping. So there is a cost of shipping as well, other than the sort of the headline cost that you see, which is the cost of oil at the port where it is bought in. So then you have this so-called open tender system that allows anybody who is a registered trader to bid within the open tender system. Now, when they bid, they've got to factor in where they're getting their oil from, and sometimes there is a cheap cargo that is coming from Singapore.
Yeah.
That you can get, and then you pay, and then you work out how much it's going to cost you to bring it to Mombasa from Singapore, compared to somebody who's probably buying it from the Middle East, or somebody who's got a stranded cargo in the high seas, and they want to get rid of it because somebody was going to buy it and then they decided they're not going to buy it, and you're sitting with this expensive ship in the ocean.
Yeah. Then
you decide to buy it and bring it to Kenya. So there's a whole host of factors that go into the actual price, the landed price that brings it in. Now starts the complicated bit. When you bring it in, you have, at any given time when they're calculating the price of fuel in Kenya, they calculate it on the average cost of the fuel that is present in the country. Some of it may be old stock, some of it may be new stock that has just come in, or may have come in 2 or 3 weeks earlier. So those play in. So you may have a cargo that arrived just 2 days before, and that may be at a higher price than whatever it is that was in the system. So that bumps it up. Whereas if it goes lower, if the price is lower, then the price in the system is higher, so it bumps up the price of what came in. So that average price is what you get. So the fluctuations in Kenya are not that big, based on the international costs of fuel. So what you see happening at the end of the day when the EPRA normally puts their price, they look at all those, average everything out, and then they say this is the price of fuel. So when you look at the price, the absolute price of fuel in Kenya, if you convert it into US cents per liter, you find that Kenya is amongst one of the cheapest countries in Africa, in fact. The cost of fuel in Kenya is cheaper than in Nigeria, which produces oil. The cost of fuel in Kenya is cheaper than in South Africa. It is cheaper than in a country like Morocco, but it's also cheaper than in Tanzania. So you find that we talk about the price of oil in Kenya, or fuel in Kenya, being high, but that is purely because we see it in absolute terms just within Kenya. But on average, if you look across the African continent, we are, again, we talk about our cost being about 10 to 50% cheaper than in Europe and the US in terms of the source of the material. But once you've added all that, the actual cost in Kenya is almost another 5 to 7, maybe even 10%, depending on the country, cheaper than other countries in Africa, most of the other countries in Africa.
Okay, Patrick, taking all that you've said into consideration, and you said the determining factor is the landed cost of fuel, of oil, right? So if we're looking at oil prices and what happened last year with COVID and all of this, when there was very little buying per se that happened, and the prices were quite low on the international market for oil, would we have seen a direct impact then on what happened with the cost? Because still here, every 14th, regardless of COVID or not, we saw the price fluctuations in the country. Should they not have then impacted quite significantly on what was available?
There's another factor. Now, let's just look at the total buildup of price in Kenya. Out of every sort of, say, 108 shillings that you pay, for super, for premium fuel, approximately 40 to 45% of that, I think it just increased to 50%, is taxes in the government. So those are fixed costs.
Half of it is tax.
So if you look at all that, and then you look at all the various fixed costs, the margin, everything else that you have in here, the price of fuel at the beginning is actually quite low. So it has a very minimal impact on the overall formula.
Okay.
So our internal costs are very much the heavier bit, and that is what it muffles out the big fluctuation that you see internationally.
So even if you did have a low global cost of oil, for example, that would not have an impact on the prices that you see then in the country.
Let me give you a scenario. If the price of crude oil, which is what we normally index it on, if the price of crude oil, say, went from the current sort of $60, $65, $70 per barrel, and then dropped to say $50 a barrel and stayed there for 6-7 months, so that everything else evens out and all your costs even out. Yeah. The price of fuel in Kenya would drop from say 105 shillings down to about 90. Yeah, so it's about a 15 shillings to 20 shilling drop.
Okay.
That's the maximum you'll get. So that is if you look at the average the average cost of fuel, it fluctuates within that range.
And the main determinant here is the tax bit.
It's a fixed cost that you have within Kenya, which is the transportation cost, the margin of the oil company with the wholesale margin, plus all the losses, pipeline losses, etc., which are in the first sector, and which are all fixed, by the way. And then the cost of the operating the depot, the transportation cost, and then the retail margin. So all that is fixed.
You know, it's truly amazing when you say fixed costs, because they're only fixed insofar as those costs aren't going away. But in terms of the value of the cost itself, it's strange. If you talk about oil fluctuations, if the price of oil goes up, so does the transportation. I mean, I apologize if my mind seems like it's negative, but it's this vicious cycle where the end consumer is always paying more and more and more and more and more and more. Yes, he's in fact, those who trade in oil know this person is fixed.
Yes,
he's going to continue consuming our product. But let me ask what I wanted to ask. So, what is the advantage of having a refinery in your country?
A refinery in the country is only an advantage if it is of the kind of scale that you benefit from the economies of scale. So let's take, for example, when you had a refinery in Kenya, the price, the capacity of the refinery was about 100,000 barrels a day, say. Yeah?
Yes.
And forget about the word barrels. It's just a comparative figure. The smallest size of refinery in the Middle East is 250,000 barrels. And the current minimum size being invested in is 400,000 barrels plus.
Wow.
Okay.
So you look at the one that Dangote is building in Nigeria, it is 450, it's about 500,000 barrels a day. Now, if you have a refinery like we had in Kenya, you would only be making fuel elements. That's it. Whereas in the Middle East, fuel is not the main thing. Fuel is actually a byproduct.
Byproduct of oil,
They are what are called fully complex refineries, which are petrochemical complexes. And the money they make is actually made out of raw materials for textiles, for pharmaceuticals, for fertilizers, and so forth. So that's what comes out of the end of those factories, of those refineries. So for them to produce fuel is a byproduct, is very cheap. So you will only benefit with having a refinery in your country at this present day only if you've got a fully complex refinery where you generate the margins from the value add material, and then you can effectively the cost of fuel and stuff like that is almost a giveaway. And that is why when the refinery used to operate in Kenya, it was more expensive to refine in Kenya if you said the cost of refining and then you sell it at the refinery gate with duty paid, and you compare that with prices of oil imported, finished from the Middle East, and taxes paid, it was more expensive to produce in the refinery in Kenya.
My goodness. So we're having a conversation about pain at the pump as petrol prices go up. This is the headlines across all the dailies this morning. Petrol prices are going up by 8 shillings. Trying to understand, so what are these determinants that the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority uses to adjust the price of petrol for a month? And that's what Engineer Patrick Obath is teaching us this morning. He is an oil and gas expert. He's worked in this industry for very many years now. He sits back and advises and teaches people like us who don't understand a thing about we just know Bei imepanda. Hii serikali. So 25 minutes after 7, let's take a break. We're on KTN Home, we are on Spice FM and online. We'll be back shortly. Good morning. Keep it right here.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
He's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Nafande hii umbo yako iko na pembe.
Hii ni umba special.
The weather with Spice.
In Nairobi this morning, we will see highs of 26 and lows of 17. It's mostly cloudy in Nyeri at 14, highs of 25 and lows of 14. Partly sunny conditions in Nakuru at 15. Going to highs of 28. 25 will be the high recorded in Eldoret today. Currently sunny at 15. Sunny conditions also in Kisumu at 21. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 30. Kakamega is partly sunny at 16, highs of 31. 32 the high in Mombasa, mostly cloudy at 26. It's also mostly cloudy in Malindi at 26, going to highs of 32 today. 28 will be the high in Kampala, 21 and mostly sunny at the moment. Sunny conditions also in Dar es Salaam at 27. That will be the low, going to highs of 32. 24 is the high in Johannesburg, 17 degrees at the moment, mostly cloudy. It's now raining in Lagos at 28, going to highs of 32 today. 33 the high in Kinshasa. It's cloudy at 25.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Traffic.
So we're looking at badness on Kisumu Road today, trying to connect with Thika Road. Also, Thika Road itself, almost bumper-to-bumper traffic. It's quite heavy on Thika Road today. Everybody's complaining about fuel prices this morning, and some people are not moving because they can't get fuel in their vehicles. We'll have to wait and see. Komarok, as you go to the roundabout, is at a standstill. Juja Road also, we're looking at heavy traffic there. As you're trying to get into the CBD today, you can use Wangari Maathai Road. That one is not having a problem today. Trying to get into the CBD. Coming out of Westlands, a little bit slow, but you should be all right. Remember, you can use the bypasses of Red Hill, the Eastern and the Southern. Talk to us if you need to. Spice FMKE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 29 minutes after 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room on Spice FM, KTN Home and online. We're having a conversation about, the price fluctuations of oil. And joining us on the line is Engineer Patrick Obath. He's an oil and gas expert. Well, at the same time, let's just bring you up to date with the news that's broken this morning of the death of Garissa Senator Yusuf Haji, long-serving administrator, provincial administrator, and now getting into politics, becoming the senator for Garissa. This is the man who chaired the BBI task force. He has passed away this morning after some illness. Condolences to his family and the constituents and friends as well. So, Engineer Bath, back to the conversation about this, the open tender system and how this is all harmonized and these fixed costs that we have. There have been people in the industry who have argued that this is not good for the country. That you should allow free market forces to play at all times. Don't try and fix anything at all. What do you make of that?
The devil is in the detail. I for most of my oil industry life, I operated in the free market. And then towards the end of my working life, it changed to this controlled price mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I have a dominant position in the market, and you have a free system,
Seems we're having a problem with your line, Obas.
Okay. I will need to do some changes in technology.
Okay. So as you do that, we'll be here. We'll wait for you to get back online. So we're having a conversation with Engineer Patrick Obath. He is an oil and gas expert. He's been on this for very many years. He's basically just telling us about this now controlled pricing mechanism that was introduced by the government and the ups and downs of it, the pros and cons of it. It's been there for a while. This is where the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority comes at the end of at the middle of every month, the 14th, and says, for the next 1 month, this is what is going to be the average price, the fixed price at the pump for the consumer. Now, from the end, I've always argued, from the end, as a consumer, I want that certainty. I want to know that this is it. The government has said, I'm going to pay 118 shillings, and that I know. I don't want this thing of oil marketers sitting and determining, you know what, I got a new consignment coming in and it was much cheaper than the other one, but I'm not going to reduce the price. Or I got another one that's coming in that's more expensive and therefore I'm going to hike the price. I feel that, but the expert is going to explain to us what he rather feels about it. Ndu, whenever we talked about this, where do you stand on this?
Look, I think it is, I think for those who understand it now, getting to the 14th, everybody starts to have certain jitters. And you think, all right, things are definitely going to increase. In my opinion, it should be, since you already, because you have it in the system, that it's going to, you already know how much you bought oil at a particular price. You know how much you bought this product at. So you know what lies in the system. I don't understand that. Why then you can't have a price and you say, let's play within this price so that people know I will not pay more than 110 shillings for fuel.
But that's it.
No, you don't know until the 14th.
Yeah. But it's because that 14th is when the government is telling you this is what we have factored in.
But it changes every month.
Yes.
And I'm saying it shouldn't change every month.
But the international price is changing every month,
yes,
every day.
Yes, but there are certain things that are fixed that you already know. There are certain prices that you already know, notwithstanding, because we've just heard it now. Regardless of what the international price is going to be, there are certain things that you know will be applied at a local level.
Yes.
And I am saying, can't those be sorted out, because it's minimal in terms of what the international price will do in terms of a change. So within here, is it not possible to say, on fuel, this is what the fixed prices will be? And we know that it will not go beyond this price, because the determining factor is not what comes from outside. The determining factor is right here.
But what comes from outside also plays a part. Remember when you said, for example, if you get a drop by $20 a barrel, then the price will drop from 108 to about 90-something. That is because of that international determining factor. If you don't factor in that, then you'll never see that drop.
But the majority of the price that we pay now is the tax that comes off government here.
That's true.
Yeah.
And that's a fixed. So you have to factor in the variable. Because if the variable, you have to come in every 14th and say, so this is how much the variation has happened, and therefore we are now going to alter it by this much. The fixed is fixed. So if you say that the price of oil should always play between 80 and 120, what is to determine the 118? Is it the whims of the market? The whims of the market.
It would look as if that there's a club right now who makes an agreement on, okay, guys, we're not going to go below this. That's what it looks like right now. And I know CT is looking at me and saying exactly, and he doesn't like it, because it looks as if there are certain fellows who sit, in the bars of oil agreements, and they say to themselves, right? And they say, okay, guys, let's agree amongst ourselves that it's not going to go beyond this, so that there's certain profits we can be assured of.
Locally.
Locally or internationally, Ndu?
Sorry?
Locally or internationally?
Those who bid on the tender system.
So locally.
Yes. Those who make the bids is as though
Those
and maybe
ones are
Patrick
fixed. They've
and
been
maybe
told
Patrick can
your
tell us
margin
that,
of profit
and maybe
is
Patrick
2.
can tell us. So they sit and agree amongst themselves, and the person who gets the short end of the stick, unfortunately, is the consumer on a wider basis, on a wider level. But they make a decision to say, guys, let's agree. As you're bidding, even you as you're bidding, make sure that you're not bidding below this, so that our profit doesn't go high, doesn't go lower than this.
Patrick, is that possible?
No. Actually, what happens is you were talking about the free market and the controlled market, yeah?
Yes.
When my technology sort of went off.
Yes.
Now, the controlled prices will obviously look cartel-like because the whole of the country is fixed by this import price. Now, a lot of the oil companies actually make their margin. The ones that are traders make their margin on the international price. Now, a lot of that is very much dependent on the source of product that you have. As I said, it depends on where you're sourcing from and whether there is a distress in any of those markets where you're sourcing the material from. So, to sort of say that it's a cartel and guys sit down and over a coffee and decide on the price is actually wrong. The minute you have a central controlled purchasing point, then the price will look like a cartel. But if you have the freedom, the prices that are open, then effectively the strongest person in the market will control the market. Mm-hmm. So if it is my old company Shell or if it is Total, who has got the largest market or the share of the market, they're the ones who are going to control the price. They can drop it, they can increase it, and they will be doing the biggest importation as well. So they will have the best margin, they have the best price possible because they'll be buying a whole ship instead of buying, trying to get a quarter of a ship from somebody else. Now, also remember that one of the reasons this open tender system was brought in was to encourage local oil companies to also get fuel at a reasonable cost.
Yes.
That was actually the origin of the whole thing.
Yes.
A small Patrick Obat and Sons, who runs 10 petrol stations, cannot afford to bring in a tanker of fuel. Yes. So I'd have had to buy from the
big
oil
boys.
company. Yeah, and then they would sort of just sell it to me at a ridiculous price and kill me.
Yep.
So there is a reason, a good reason why this formula, the control by the government, was brought in.
Patrick, does it make any difference if, say, for instance, we have our own crude oil, and by extension, we also have our own refinery, and which, of course, meets that wonderful threshold you mentioned of the economies of scale? Would it make a difference in the pricing of what we consume locally?
Absolutely, it would. If you have that economy of scale, my prediction is that your bottom price would shift from the sort of the 80s, 90s. It would come down to the 40s, 50s. Yeah? But again, we've now got to look at the taxes. That is the key thing.
Yeah.
If you look at the levy that charge on the fuel, you've got the road maintenance levy, you've got the transport levy, etc., etc. A whole series of levies that are brought in that maintain roads, etc., etc. All those costs are fixed in the fuel levy. If you remember, we used to buy a road license before, and that road license used to pay for the maintenance of roads. But now they said this is, people are dodging it or doing everything else. Let us get a situation where you levy on the fuel, and the more kilometers you drive, the more you pay, which is reason. Yeah. So a lot of the tax collection was brought straight back into the basic unit of fuel. So if you talk about the cost, let's say the fixed cost is about 60 shillings per litre. So that's the minimum it will drop down to if your fuel is free.
So you've been given fuel for free, but the government will charge you for giving it to you for free.
Yes.
More and more conversations here happening. We're having a conversation with Engineer Patrick Abath. Your line is still...
You have to pay that.
Your line is still giving an issue. Let's try and sort it out, Engineer, and then get back with the conversation with you. So, a number of things that he's saying. There are various factors. Number one, there is the issue of the tax and what the taxation means, and then he is advocating for that. Allow the free market to operate, because when you free market operating, then there's a determinant. The downside of that is those independents and the government trying to encourage the coming up of independence. Now we have very many independent oil companies around the country. Just go to every region and you'll find a new petrol station that's come up, and this one is not necessarily one that is run by one of the big boys. It's basically a new one. So there's the advantage of having all of those in. So, but Patrick, the other side of it, if you look at it, the way you're saying, so you have the big companies, the big boys, who'd be able to import in bulk, and then they'd be able to determine the price at the pump, and then they'll be the ones who are operating it. Before this controlled pricing was introduced, we used to see one of the big players who had about a 25% share. Their petrol stations had a 5%, price above everybody else. So you go into this particular petrol station, you find that this one is selling at 100 bob, the other one, the next one is selling at 102, 103, 104. But the one for 104 has more petrol stations around the country. So they're sort of like dictating then the price. Was that a good thing?
That is, then you have a choice as a consumer. You can decide where to go. And then you go to the cheapest one. But then if you go to the cheapest one, you get what you get.
Okay, clearly you're being cryptic here, Patrick, and what you're saying requires interpretation. You are actually saying cheap is not necessarily good.
I think that is the point. I mean, you have a lot of adulteration and stuff like that, where people, once they begin to go low in price, they begin to find ways of creating a margin that compensates for that low price. And then they begin to adulterate fuel. And so that's why you get what you get sometimes. And that you find that kerosene is the biggest adulterator, as it were. And if you know kerosene was supposedly for the Mananchi, the cheap fuel. So that cheap fuel then was being used to sort of, you can add up about 8% or thereabouts into diesel or gasoline. And it hasn't changed the quality that much. But it's still, it's not as good as it can be. But then, it won't ruin everything for you. Your engine will be sluggish when it comes to drive. And that margin between the price of kerosene and the price of either diesel or petrol or premium, they used to pocket that. And that is why the cost of kerosene all of a sudden has been increased now, so that it reflects more a better market value. So we don't have adulteration.
Big story there. I think we've had a big issue with your line, Patrick, and I think we just have to let you go. Thank you very much for talking to us this morning, and thank you for sharing your insights. We've gotten quite a bit of it. We'll invite you to come into the studio one of these fine days so that you can then take us through what is happening now and what to expect in not just oil and gas. I know that you talk about very many other things as well, as governance is one of the big things that you talk about nowadays, and looking at our economy.
Okay, anytime, give me a few days notice and I'll be able to come up to your studios.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you very much. You have a good day, Patrick.
Thank you very much, indeed.
Thank you. Patrick Abath is Engineer Patrick Abath. He's an expert on oil and gas. He's worked in the oil and gas industry for very many years. He was the CEO of Shell. He also rose in the board of Shell. He's worked in this and that for many years. So he was explaining to us exactly what has happened, what led us to this controlled pricing of fuel, and what are the main determinants. See, over 50%, about 50% now, or close to 50% of what you're paying at the pump is basically taxes and levies, all going back to the government. So if there was something to be done, the government can still just do that and say, all right, let's reduce. Remember, 8% VAT, they had zero rated that VAT. international pressure also coming in, especially from the World Bank, and saying, no, you cannot. This is one of the easiest ways in which you can raise revenue. How do you just let it go? So sometimes you look at the government and you're like, okay, so even if it was UCT and you have this one commodity where everybody is consuming and you have an opportunity then to raise revenue from that, would you just let it pass?
Actually, no. You see, when you talk about government involvement, usually the theory is that they will be that bulwark, they will be that barrier between us and supposedly unscrupulous consumers. But what if the government are the ones who are unscrupulous? Then what do you do? Because what then is the bulwark? But to answer your question, because I am aware I did not answer it, it makes perfect sense from the government's perspective. This is a commodity that everyone uses directly or indirectly. Doesn't really matter. You can't escape it. And also, those who consume it have a way of recovering whatever it is they spend on the fuel. The problem then rises from this. The end consumer, who is this so-called simple mwananchi who is supposed to be protected, is the same person who ends up bearing the burden of this thing, always.
Constantly.
Do whatever you want to, do whatever maths you want to. You increase the price of oil, the matatu owner will increase the price of his fare. And who do you think is going to shoulder that increased cost? The commuter.
Consumer.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and you can see the translation of this increase on everything else as well. It's not just transport, or it's not just you getting into your vehicle, fueling your car, and then going where you need to go, or paying for public transport. We also see other things like this, that the cost of food, for example, you would see, although it be very slight, but you still see it, that it's translated to that. The cost of production of certain things then go up, and so then it translates into how much you pay for commodities and services. You see that. And I mean, again, who bears the brunt of it is the consumer at large, regardless of how you want to look at it. You know,
Patrick said something that is quite, some good news. That one, first of all, because of our proximity to the Middle East, we have access to cheaper oil. Okay. Number two, we are not the only people who are close to the Middle East, but we are among the cheapest in Africa in terms of, at the end, the consumption, that pump price. In addition to the entire thing that the government is actually carrying from you, we are still the cheapest. Is that not something that you can look at and say, okay, so therefore,
yes,
right.
In theory, I don't see an issue. If you have a population of people who like traveling, as ours do, and that's why you see the proliferation of bus companies and transport companies and what have you, then clearly you know that there's a demand for this product, tax it by all means. The problem is never that. There would be no hue and cry if these taxes, as we normally say, one could see what they were being used for to benefit the very person who actually pays these taxes. Where would the hue and cry be? If someone goes to hospital and not only are they taken care of, but they also find that the requisite drugs and so forth are available. If your road network, because that we see every once in a while, this road has been maintained by the levy. They tell you that you are the one who you've paved that road. Then it rains. Then it rains.
And your money will be used again.
You know, for the longest time, when road repairs continued and you saw the benefit, that 14% levy, whatever it was, it seemed, in my mind, it was a good thing. Because I could see, so this is what it's doing. Then, by all means, let it be done. But when what is said it's going to do doesn't get done and you're not informed, anytime you see that sign, a road that has been carpeted, and you're told it has been carpeted courtesy of that the levy,
the road maintenance levy,
it is a wonderful thing. Yes. There is no quarrel with paying taxes when the taxes are used for what you are told they're going to be.
So the problem then is in the end now.
Yes.
Once the National Treasury with its plan to, let's remove this road license thing and let's put that levy in a fuel. It was brilliant.
Excellent.
Because that democratizes everything.
Oh, it was, actually, it was, you cannot, that thing was brilliant. Brilliant.
It's not just about now the castica now called road license every time.
Or even toll station, levy. You can't escape it.
Yes. So those that are supposed to be thinking have thought about it.
Oh man, that was well thought out.
The tax collector is collecting. The user of the tax is why you're having a problem. How is this money being utilized? Is it actually going to the benefit that it was intended for? Is it going for road maintenance? Is road maintenance being managed properly? Are the contractors being identified well? Are they being managed well? Because now that's where the issue comes in, where a road has been done and then within a short time, the same road has been washed away by floods and you have to redo. You ask about the quality of what was done.
Oh, I think it's a thought worth its merit when you want to look at countries whereby if you're doing that comparative analysis with Kenya being the cheapest when it comes to how much you pay for fuel, but then look at other countries whereby fuel may be expensive, and then you say that the government tax that comes into play here and the levies then that are placed on petrol and or fuel rather, and what they're supposed to do, you actually see it. If you look at countries like Namibia, where development index is very high. At the same time, fuel costs very high. But then if you want to look at their road network, impeccable. A road, for some reason, today is in a poor state. By the next 24 hours, it has been sorted out and it's actually done and done well.
Yep.
Another example, South Africa, when the roads, the fuel is extremely high, the tax on fuel extremely high. Again, look at what they're able to do with that levy and how they're able to make things work in terms of maintenance of those particular forms of infrastructure. And I think it is necessary to be able to see a direct relation between what you charge for people to be able to use these facilities and then how you actually develop them. There should be some kind of relation between the two. It can't be that you have these huge taxes because what we said, it's already determined, it's fixed. So you would expect that what is being done with it is something that you can see. But if you can't see it, then therein lies the problem. And I think that is what people complain about. When people say, oh, the fuel prices have gone high, I don't think that that's really the issue that we have. To say that, okay, I'm not going to... You'll still put fuel in your tank. But then you ask yourself, when you look at and hear all these explanations and you say that, all right, a lot of this money goes back to government, then you want to ask yourself, what is actually being done with it? And that would be the problem in your head now when it resonates to say, okay, hold on, I'm being charged all of this to be able to use this commodity and put fuel in my car, but then what is it that I'm able to get out of result? I still have to contend with bad roads. I still have to contend with this, that, the other thing, washed away bridges and we can't move. You see? And I think that's the issue. That is an issue rather. That really needs to be looked at. Even in countries like the US, where fuel actually is very high, you're not going to have these problems whereby people are complaining about the end result. Can you see a direct relation between what is charged and what is done? Absolutely.
And they actually produce.
And they produce these results, reporting for people to see. This is what we've been able to do with that, what we have charged on what you're paying for. And I think when we get to that point, perhaps the hue and cry will not be so loud. I mean, we say the same thing. In fact, people's taxes, we are charged almost 50% of your salary.
Country,
but you
there's
can
an example of that happening. If you look at Thika Road, the entire Thika Superhighway, you will constantly, if you drive along that road, you will find people who are working on the guardrails, who are working on recarpeting the road. That road, there's some maintenance that happens that you can see. It's clearly somebody who's on a 24-hour round-the-clock job of ensuring that this stretch of road is
well maintained.
Well maintained. If it's a guardrail it's washed. If it needs to be replaced, it's replaced. If it's about the traffic lights that need to be sorted, there was an accident and someone knocked down a traffic light, it's replaced. You see that happening. So the question then would be, how do you translate that into other roads as well? Maybe they're just doing that to see.
You know, the poster child, if I may use the term for me, was always Libya, where they had oil, they produced it, and what they did with their oil money. It was fascinating. I'm just talking about how the common citizenry benefited from it. Nigeria is one of the biggest oil producers in the world, long before COVID and all these things. Tell me, how did that oil benefit the people of Nigeria?
Oh, I mean, in many cases, it hasn't been that. It's been looked as a curse as opposed to
a blessing.
A blessing. Now, talking about today, I mean, come on. When was oil discovered in Nigeria? And in 2021 is when we're looking at the completion of a 450,000 barrel
refinery,
for example. right?
Is it the government or the private Dangote one?
It's Dangote's refinery that's being built right now. So, look, we had refineries, 3 major refineries in the 80s in Nigeria that shut down for nothing else because of corruption, right? Everybody's taking a little bit of theirs until they had to shut down. And so now you're taking crude that is found in Nigeria. Crude then leaves the country, comes back as fuel, and people pay double the price of what they should be paying for it. Libya, the absolute opposite example. And Libya's very smooth crude, whereby it's much easier to refine. Then you could see the direct results of that. That a baby could be able to walk on the highways of the streets of Libya, of Tripoli, and not get bruised. That's how good their road network was. And you could see a direct result of what they did with their levy.
Time for a break on KTN Home. And as we do that, let's remind you of the breaking news this morning. Mohammed Yusuf Haji, the Garissa senator, has passed away after some illness. He died early this morning in a hospital in Nairobi. Remember, Mohammed Yusuf Haji was a long-serving provincial administrator. For very many years, he was Rift Valley PC, Mohammed Yusuf Haji. And then he retired and went into politics. He was the chair of the BBI task force. He is the father of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nuruddin Haji. President Uhuru Kenyatta is among those that have sent messages of condolences to the family, acquaintances and residents of Garissa County following the death of their senator, Yusuf Haji. In his message, the president eulogized the veteran politician who until his death was the chairperson of the BBI task force as a dependable Kenyan leader and a patriot. He says the death of Senator Haji is a big blow to the country, especially in the BBI constitutional reform process, where his leadership shall be dearly missed. He wished the family, friends and relatives of the departed leader God's comfort as they come to terms with the device. 4 minutes to 8 o'clock. Taking a break on KTN Home, but the conversation continues on Spice FM. Keep it right here.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 87.9 Spice FM, Mombasa.
Okay. So about countries using the resources that they have for the benefit of their people, right? This is where it all leads to. You have these resources, whether you're getting the resources, natural resources, or whether you're using your natural resource of people to raise revenues as levies and taxes. But what are you putting them? To what use are you putting them? Is it just for eating, or are you basically serving the people?
You know, when Ndu says that the discovery and the eventual exploration of oil in the neck of the woods she came from was considered more of a curse than a blessing, it is not difficult to understand. Because sometimes countries that have not understood the benefits of harnessing their own natural wealth for the benefits of the general citizenry, when you say, yes, why does it become a curse? Because it creates rifts. The divide between those who have and those who don't widens. Now, you can't get a better recipe for strife than that one. Because people can see this resource is available in our country. They can also see that it is not benefiting us. They don't even need to think very hard. And they know very well that they have as much right to the benefits as the other people whom they see.
Absolutely.
Yes. So,
I mean, what are we talking about now? There are people in the south of Nigeria, in areas whereby it's said that there are deposits of oil that would be able to fuel Nigeria for the next 200 years. But the people of the area have absolutely refused for any kind of discovery to take place or exploration to take place in that area. Because they look at their brothers in the Niger Delta and they say, what has happened to them? Absolutely, we're not letting you get in here. So, I mean, those are a direct result of some of the things that you're seeing. And they say, government, why is it that you cannot translate this resource into something good for the whole country? Why can't you do that? And because of that, we're not letting anybody in here. There's been a constant fight between government and local communities for the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Wow.
So,
and that we haven't brought in the discussion of what the exploration has done to other natural resources like water.
Like water, for example.
Yes.
Keep it right here for more conversations. In the next hour, we talk the politics that's been there over the weekend and what's happened Remember, this is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Some of the comments coming in. My fellow Kenyans, good morning. Let us stop biting around the bush. Tell mwananchi tunatafuta pesa ya grant, ya car grant na BBI. That's the mwananchi's translation of fuel prices going up. CT, your observation about an oil cartel is not far-fetched. That's according to Julia. Good morning. It's 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, guys, still looking at slow traffic on Mombasa Road today, getting out into the CBD. Outbound is going to take some time. The Southern Bypass behaving very well today. We don't have too much in terms of traffic there just yet. We're looking at a bumper-to-bumper situation on Kiambu Road. It's a nightmare, guys. I'm trying to join with Muthaiga Square and then out towards the Pangani Tunnel. It's moving very slowly. Wangari Maathai Road, however, today is working well. Coming off Limuru Road, right around the village market, it slows down some as then you get out towards the Aga Khan Hospital. All right? We're also looking at traffic that's building up around Langata Road, coming out towards the Timor roundabout. Uhuru Highway, then between Nyayo Stadium out into the CBD, also quite slow. So looking at Monday morning traffic is expected, especially where we are looking at the construction of the expressway taking place now. Look what happens in about an hour or so. We are in the middle of traffic hour. We expect this right now. Incidents or accidents, let us know so we can keep it moving. Spice FMKE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
Okay.
The
It's
only
2.5
way to
minutes
start
after
your
8
day.
o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. We begin this and every hour with the day's proverb.
Without a leader, black ants are confused.
Without a leader, black ants are confused.
You
So
need to
every species
understand
needs a
that
leader.
black ants don't sort of like it. They aren't solitary beings. They don't sort of like move. They move as a column. They move as a tribe. They move in numbers. Yes, and for that movement to take place, there has to be someone leading it. It's not. There's nothing random about it.
Confuse the leader and you confuse the
If
entire
the leader
troop.
isn't there, there's a problem. There's a serious problem.
How can you identify the leader?
The leader? Well, most species that inhabit this planet with us, like the ants, the leader is usually bigger. Bigger head, bigger body, bigger.
So it'll be the bigger one.
Yes, they're usually actually sizable. You realize that this particular ant is not quite the same size as the other fellows who seem to be doing the bulk of the work. But then you understand, if they're the ones who do the bulk of the work, and they're the ones who feed this fellow, so it explains why this fellow is bigger than them.
So his job is just marching in front of them.
No, the fellow just sort of like hangs out
somewhere.
and eats and
Box orders.
and box orders and
Okay. So remember once again, the news out of Nairobi is that the Garissa Senator Mohamed Yusuf Haji has passed on this morning at the age of 80. He was ailing. He was the chairman of the BBI task force. He was a senator for Garissa. He served in the public service for very many years, rising to the level of provincial commissioner, working in Kenya's largest province then, Rift Valley, for very many years as PC. President Uhuru Kenyatta is among those that have sent messages of condolences to the family, friends, relatives, and citizens of Garissa County, telling them, poleni sana for the loss. Okay. So let's turn into the politics of what's happened over the weekend. In this hour, we talk about the return of one of Kenya's greatest sons, Dr. Mukhisa Kitui, former Secretary General of UNCTAD, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. He's back into the country and he says, I've come back, people, and I have thrown my hat in the ring. I'm in the contest for next year's presidential election. And he says, I represent change. This is what I stand for. I believe that we have great potential in this country. I believe that we have a lot that we can do in this country. And I believe that we can basically deliver a better Kenya for all. Not just in UNCTAD. Before that, he worked in various capacities. He worked in the AU. He was an advisor at the AU. He worked in various bodies. And even before that, he served as a cabinet secretary, as a minister for trade in Kenya. He was an MP for Kimilili. Right? For a number of years, he was a senior ranking member of Ford Kenya. He was participated in Kenyan politics. And he says, all right, guys, we've come back and this is how I'd like you to consider me for this position. What do you make his chances to be, Ndu?
Well, look, I think if we're looking at a track record, I think maybe he might be amongst those who would be able to present something in terms of what he's been able to do, whether it has been in a capacity serving on in this global forum, which is UNCTAD, or what he did in the country before that, his political positions that he held here, and then what would then hold sway would be his performance. And I think that's what people will be looking for. And I think that shows us that I think Kenyans are now starting to take a greater leaning towards how people are able to perform in what they've been able to do, because that's what we have to hold him up against, right? What we have right now to hold Kitui up against is what he's been able to do and how he's been able to perform at UNCTAD. How he's been able, and I think even before his appointment at UNCTAD, he was always pushing for transparency in terms of how we trade country to country.
Yeah.
When he sat in that in those positions for Kenya and said, look, open this up and let's have people with stronger ties and stronger buffering when it came to then how they were able to develop through trade. And then he took this experience or took these ideas to UNCTAD, and that's been able to work for him. If that is the benchmark upon which he is going to be judged, then I think he has a sterling record. If that is what Kenyans will use to judge him. But from the conversations that we have had before this, everybody is going to be looking at his positioning. Everybody is going to be looking at what he's flanked by. Everybody is going to be looking at who is in his band of merry men of support. It would be nice if everybody can, but the thing is, with the kind of politics within which we play, nobody just takes your ability and works with that, except in very few cases. I mean, we hear people tout about all the time the performance of Makhweni and what he's been able to do there. In terms of
Makhweni governor.
Yeah, the governor, right, and what he's been able to do there.
And his name is Professor
Kivuda Kubwana.
Okay.
Right, okay.
Okay.
So anyway, to be able to say what he's been able to do there, he's taken this job and taken it seriously. Nobody doubts his performance. But then take him to the top level now, and people are saying, okay, but do we need a more vibrant politician? Somebody is going to shake it and make noise and things like that. That's what people want to see. But I'm saying if what you're looking for is performance, if what you're looking at is to say move it to where citizens are protected, then perhaps you want to look at what somebody has been able to do in a position that they've held before. But the unfortunate thing is that people want to have this great recipe for success and then pepper it with politics, unfortunately. And I think that is the problem that you have. We will not look at the individual who may be best placed to do this kind of job, but you want to throw in the politics. And unfortunately, politics very many times sours good governance. It does.
Well,
I'm because I'm thinking of our country, and I'm thinking of how the political class has fine-tuned the voter into this band of individuals whose desire and whose requirements for a leader are anything but what we are saying. First of all, the question in the mind of that would-be voter is, okay, what are you going to give us? Not what are you going to do? Note, what are you going to give us? Then the doing may come later. Then there are those who, when you're in Kenya and you're a politician, differed with you. There are those who, because the person who unseated Mukhisa Kitui is Dr. Seli Simiu, okay, who has been having his ups and downs with one leader of Ford Kenya. We know who that is. Now remember, to be able to make any foray into politics in this particular country at that level, you need to have your backyard.
Your tribal backyard.
You need to be flanked.
Solidly behind you.
Right.
Why am I painting this picture? I'm saying one Mr. Wetangula also considers himself to be a fairly senior politician. You know these. You're talking about Mukhisa. You're talking about Simiu.
Yes.
You're talking
Musalia.
about. These are people who are Rika, as you call it. Okay. So Kitui comes in. He automatically challenges the position that one Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi is also gunning for. Okay. There was talk that the governor of Kakamega may also have an interest in some higher position other than the one which he must surrender when it comes to 2022. So before you talk about the presidency, the supremacy of leadership in Western Kenya, Luyaland as we call it, how do you think that is going to play out? Because how it plays out is what positions Mukhisa and gives him a position that would determine how well he would even be just at the start.
So
he comes in here. If we look then at that, then let's break it down. Mukhisa is Bukusu.
Yes, he is.
Right?
Yes.
Musalia is not.
No. Musalia is Maragoli.
Oparanya is not.
No, it's not.
Wetangula?
Bukusu.
Yeah. So now we have the Bukusu here of Wetangula versus Mukhisa Kitui. When you take that block, then now you go and bring in the others.
By the way, one Mr. Wetangula, remember, has had a fight that hasn't come to an end yet.
With
his Secretary General, one Dr. David Eseli Simiu, and his buddies have not liked Wetangula's leadership and they challenge it. Remember, it's a discussion that's still ongoing. So there's a division there, and then you throw in Kitui. Now you tell me, how do you think that's going to work out? If Mukhisa Kitui could come out and show that he can actually unify that particular block, then the skills we're speaking of will say, man, this guy has come in and he's unified his backyard.
I can feel the frustration in Ndu. You're just wondering. So we must go back into that thing of, the tribe.
Well,
if we are thinking about alternative leadership, can't we think about it differently? Can't we think about it and say?
Did he come in and say, I am resigning from my position at UNCTAD to come and be the unifier of the Luyas?
When
the chief Bukusu.
Let me ask the question.
He came in and say, I want to throw my hat into the ring to be a presidential candidate for Kenya.
Okay.
That's what he said. He didn't come in and say, I want to unify the Luyas. I want to be the Bukusu option.
And why would a voter in Tana River, in Kwale, in Garissa, look at him from this Luya background?
Actually,
you vote for him.
You vote for him and what he's been able to do.
Why would the other voters be thinking about, lakini huyu hata ana support you? Why?
Even the Luyas don't like him. Come on, man.
No.
You like him.
It is a very simple thing. Your own backyard. We call it tribal, but where you come from, we don't know you. How do your people treat you? What do they think of you? Because they are the indicators.
Yeah.
You see, you are starting a race that other people have been in for some time.
But they're on the spot. They're on the spot. You know how there's that stationary bicycle and then there's the bicycle that is moving.
I'm trying to explain something here.
So somebody comes in and they say that they can gain some traction in terms of something for the country.
There are very many people in this country who have the same idea as Mukhisa Kitui. There are younger Kenyans who want this same job, and they've had the same narrative of bringing something new. And I'm trying to tell you that even as you think of this new, I'm afraid you have to mix it with the reality of what our politics and our people are.
And I'm saying it's about time that you begin to break down this reality and let it be for something else. Because every time we continue to say we need new blood, we need fresh this, Kenya needs a resurgence. Willie Mutunga told us here on Friday that what Kenya needs now is the fourth liberation, right? You need now to start to agitate for a new kind of leadership. How do you begin to agitate for that new kind of leadership?
And when you say Kenya
when
needs,
you're stuck with the old,
who decides what Kenya needs?
And then somebody comes out and says, I want an opportunity to be able to lead this country.
Who decides
people like
what
CT
Kenya
will
needs?
be saying, but where is he from? And the people in his backyard, do they actually support
Actually,
him?
it's not people like CT. It's the people of this country. It's just the reality of what I'm simply saying. If you're thinking about a political career, you really have to understand and face up to certain realities. It's not your creation. It's a reality.
That's true.
You can't change. You can't change.
For us to change.
But this chap has not come from nowhere. Let's look at him as an example.
Mm.
He's not come from nowhere. He's not just somebody wet behind the ears who's decided, presidency sounds nice.
He has served in
Let me
parliament
go.
more than one term.
So
he's been elected by his people in his backyard more than one term.
So
okay, he has been a minister in this country for a number of years.
So
okay, this country has sponsored his candidacy and he has won and he has served in the United Nations body.
So
he has.
That's in the past.
No, he
Folks,
came from UNCTAD the other day.
Folks, UNCTAD, if I was in his constituency, how does UNCTAD benefit me? What has it done that has made my life different?
It's the experience that he got from that and how he's been able to manage in that position that he can now translate it into this country.
I'm trying to explain
see then how it
something
can
here
help.
that the voter doesn't look at those things. It's not their concern. They are happy you are their son. They are happy you are in UNCTAD. They are very happy about all those things. It doesn't translate to votes. That's what I'm trying to. It doesn't.
But it doesn't mean it cannot. It doesn't mean it cannot. And we've been hinged on this thing for, I think, too long now. And if
Actually-
we don't start to break away from this thing that say, okay, like you say...
And why should we break away from it, really?
It's not thinking about
No.
whether
Let me ask. Why should we break away from it?
Why should you hold on to this thing and say that, all right...
Okay.
Because we need
And
change.
where on
It's
this
something
planet
different.
have people broken away from this notion, this idealistic notion that you're telling me? Where do people not practice this?
It doesn't mean because it's practiced that it's all right. And that's
I'm
my
trying
point.
to explain
Where do
politics
people
and how.
not do what? Where do people not look at each other from tribal lenses?
Yes, where exactly? Where?
So when people were voting for JP Magufuli, they were looking at him from his tribe.
Yes. Let me explain to you. Tribe doesn't mean someone with whom you share a certain linguistic commonality.
That's
not
what
necessarily.
you are
That's
meaning.
what's happening here.
That's what
No,
you are talking
that is how
about. When you
ours
say
is
Luya,
manifested.
Luya is-
Actually, Eric, you know this political game of Kenya where you contribute to a conversation and then when it suits you, it's suddenly I who began it. I didn't mention the Bukusus, you did. I merely said Western.
Yes, so when you say Western, who do you mean?
You are explaining the demarcation of that so-called Western, which isn't a homogeneous group of people.
It is the Luya people.
They are called the Luya, but
Yes.
it's not a homogeneous group.
It
They don't
is
even
not.
speak the same language.
Exactly.
Okay? I am saying this. This thing is called reality, okay, of our politics. It's not, when I say it doesn't mean I'm encouraging it. I'm just saying this is what it is. Like if I say this is my left hand, am I encouraging it to be left? It's my left hand.
Yes, now we're saying, let your left hand look at what your right hand is doing. It doesn't mean that your left hand cannot move or it becomes immobile. It's your left hand, well and good, but let it move to a different position and see that this is what lies on the other side. For too long. And do you know how many gems it's possible that countries would have overlooked? Gems in terms of leadership, because this person is not from a particular place.
And because that position then of the regional kingpin is occupied by somebody else who is not moving anywhere, right? Because it's already occupied now,
You see,
they cannot rise.
If this reality that I'm
like
talking
Ndu
about,
was saying, it's a static bicycle.
It's not moving.
according
So
to
because
Ndu,
of
it's
that-
static. That bicycle is not static. It's static.
The wheels
from-
are moving, but it's not going
No,
forward.
that is where you're wrong. Because it is moving. It may not be moving the direction you think it ought to move. But what I'm trying to say is This forward movement we speak of is almost impossible if you don't understand the realistic dynamics. And that is what I am saying. These are the dynamics. And when I say you've come in and you're new, everything about you having been MP, past tense. UNCTAD is now past tense. You've come in, good. But there are people who've been at it long enough. You know, you more or less have to reintroduce yourself to people and say,
now, these people who've been at it, it's like the woodpecker on that one place. At least the woodpecker is getting through that wood and is able to find the insect inside. These people who've been at it all this time, what is it that they've been able to do? And I'm talking about the country, that you're continuing to hedge your hopes
You're
on
also
them
asking
all
the
this
wrong
time
question,
and say,
if I may say so.
You said, but you're the one who said they've been at it. They've been at it all this
Yes.
time. And then you want to come in from the blue and bring something new. What's wrong with that? Why not take something, this new thing?
Yes.
We want to concentrate on these people who've been there forever.
The question isn't what you've done, Ndu. The question is what people
on
think.
why you're not going to select them because of where they're from. I'm sorry, but it's weak in all terms of
if you're electing yourself on your merit, then you'll do well. You're not. Whatever you have, the ability you have, the achievements you've clear, if they cannot be packaged and translated in a way that the voter can appreciate and translate it into being something that is useful to them, it is useless. Let me use the word. All that won't take you anywhere.
It is all useless.
If you can't take this lovely package here and present it in a way that voter can say, you know, this thing is actually useful for me. This what I'm seeing here is actually good for me. All that will amount to nothing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
now, what City you are saying beyond that is, in addition to you packaging all that, you have also to go and tell them your backyard supports you. You have to add that as well.
Yes, you do.
Let's bring in our political commentator, Yegon, who is on the line. Yegon, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Eric and everyone.
Good
morning to you. How are you?
I'm very fine.
Fine son of Kenya has come back. Fine son of Kenya wants to be president in 2022.
Yes, now we have to see that Mukhisa Kitui is back.
Yes.
And from a fact, because from the conversation I followed, is that there was traffic when he was arriving.
Yes.
To mean that Mukhisa has followers and has people who are fronting him.
Yes.
Now, the issue comes here that in Kenyan politics, for one to be a president, one must have he or she has to unite his backyard. This is the tribe now. Now, in the tribe, there is this king who has been present. We don't want to know if he is fertile or infertile. But he has been present, and right now he is not willing to let his position creep away again. We have heard Musalia saying that this time round I'm going for the front seat for the presidency.
Yep.
We have other leaders like Obaranya and Wetangula. Now, the people, what Musalia will be thinking to do right now is that the people of Western region will have to judge Mukhisa Kitui not from the job he has been doing in Undak, but the position which he held before as the member of parliament. Now we will see Mukhisa, was he defeated from this position or he resigned? Apart from that, these people will say now, as an MP, what did he did? That is the basis, the foundation stone of Mukhisa. And then now the person narrative will come, as this person been with us since when he went to Undak. That is, has he been contributing in Arambes? Has he been attending the funeral? You see? And now there will be another narrative that these people will come and poison. Because Kenyans right now, they can be poisoned with any word. They can even tell them that as Undak Secretary General, he was able to revive this sugar industry. Or we could be exporting this sugar outside. But look, Mukhisa blocked us. And these people will buy the idea because the Kenyan voters, currently they don't measure you as per your manifesto. Because you can have a good manifesto. In fact, these leaders are giving us manifesto, good manifesto. But what our people have been told or have been given something like the government is working is by constructing roads. That's why you can hear President Uhuru or Mr. Ruto only talking of roads. That hii njia kutoka hapo tumeweka budget na stima, only that.
Tangible things.
Because even at the county level, you can see a governor giving good policy that I shall give you free milk, thread, all those sort of things. But after some 2 years in Ba, when he comes back, he'll tell you that we have constructed this road and this road. And Kenyans doesn't rhyme with that. Only as pora tu mewatengenezea njia. That's how they fought you. So for Mukhisa, yes, he's a good candidate. But back in Musalia's mind is that he's now thinking that this person can be.
But now you, Yegon.
Endorsement.
Every time we talk to you, you're either in Nandi or in Matu or in, where is that place near the border with Ethiopia? Wajir. Now the other one.
Moyale.
Going to Moyale. Right?
Moyale.
None of those places is in Western Kenya. So you, as Yegon the voter, what is it that you would use to either say yes or no to to Dr. Mukhisa Kitui?
Now, when you ask that question, I can answer it in two different perspectives. As Yegon as a professional, and Yegon as a Kenyan voter. Now, as a professional, I sincerely know that Mukhisa Kitui can be a good president. You see? Because he has been doing well by the time he resigned from UNTAC, is that he was not fired, but now he said, look guys, I've done this job for this time and I am now contented, let me go home and serve my people.
Yeah.
Now, and then I will comment as a Yekun that what does this lawyer bring to my Kalenjin benefit? Because from as a voter, I know that as a Kikuyu president, we have seen every time we're talking of Mount Kenya development. I have not seen him going holding a Western development or a Rift Valley. Now, there's this person that this person will now come and focus on only Western. And I will go for my tribal kingdom. Even my people will sacrifice me. They may ask for a bull if I support outside.
Thank you, Yegon. Have a good day. 26 minutes after 8. We are talking about the, Mukhisa Kitui, the immediate former Secretary General of UNCTAD, who's come back to the country, and he says he's throwing his hat in the ring for presidency next year. What do you think of his campaign? What do you think of his candidacy? Do you support Mukhisa Kitui? Do you think he'll be a good president? Does he stand a chance of being elected by a majority of voters in next year's election? We'd like you to hear from you. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Also post your comments on social media. Spice FM on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Let's take a break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice FM. Spice up your life. The weather.
It's still cloudy in Nairobi. Sun peeking through at some point. Go to highs of 26 today. Highs will be 25 in Nyeri, currently mostly cloudy at 16. We're looking at highs of 28 in Nakuru, partly sunny conditions at 17. Highs of 25 in Eldoret, conditions of 15 and sunny right now. Partly sunny in Kisumu at 19, going to highs of 30. Highs will be 31 in Kakamega today. It's partly sunny at 19, 27 and mostly cloudy in Mombasa, highs of 32. Highs of 32 also in Malindi, partly cloudy at 26. Sunny conditions in Kampala, 22, highs of 28. Highs will be 32 in Dar es Salaam today if you're traveling in that direction. Mostly cloudy at the moment at 27. It's cloudy in Johannesburg at 18, highs of 24. And 32 the high in Lagos, where it's raining at 28. It's mostly cloudy in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 33 and lows of 24.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever. Traffic.
All right, so the construction still contributing to the traffic that we see on Mombasa Road today. As you're getting out to the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, it's going to take you some time, but that we see we're still in the middle of traffic hour. Those who left early perhaps reach where they're going, but we still see some traffic also coming off of Thika Road, right around the Pangani Tunnel, out then towards Ngara. Okay, so that's slow there. The bypasses are behaving well today. Southern, Eastern, Red Hill take you longer, but it'll get you there without too much of a wait. All right, so we don't see anything crazy just yet, which is a good thing. Let us know in case you do, and we can see how we can keep it moving. Talk to us, Spice FMKE on Twitter, or text on 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
This
Nairobi.
Is the biggest conversation, the Situation Room. We're live on KTN Home on Spice FM. And online, we are live streaming on Spice FM, KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So, Mukhisa Kitui as President of the Republic of Kenya, yes or no? And we'd like to hear from you, 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. A number of comments on social media, Ndu.
Right. So, okay, quite a number of things here. Jonathan Kadenge says, let's give him a try. I personally won't vote for such a fruitless politician. Wow. Okay. Robert Kemboy.
Let him try.
Yeah, let him try. Robert Kip Kemboy says, for too long, tribalism has driven our politics. It's sad that we still have people who think tribe can be a springboard to greater heights. I listened to Mukhisa yesterday and he has my nod. He talks of economy passionately and has plans on how to fix it. The tribal dynamics is total crap, he says. Ernest Komu says, biggest joke I've heard today. All right, he says, time will tell. Medicine Alex says, I will sit and watch this space. Barnabas Bet. His timing seems to subdivide the votes and he makes it worse for the Mulembe nation. He could have told all his aspirants to unite first and then sell the agenda. Failure to that, the beneficiary will be an outsider such as Odinga or Ruto. So the main point is to unite the backyard. Okay. Godfrey Awugo says, first, he's an elitist who is not in touch with the common Monanchi, just like Peter Kenneth. The people who praise him are just on Twitter, apparently. Secondly, he couldn't even get re-elected as an MP. Okay. Mukinda Ireri says, it's sad the way we encourage Kenyan leaders to be tribal chiefs. Kenya is big enough and Kenyans are no longer held up in villages. Okay. Matt Timothy says, the media is to blame. Again, come on, guys. This two-horse race media phrase that always enhances popular candidates' visibility but denies potentially good candidates' media visibility is an issue worth discussing. Okay.
It is. It is an issue worth discussing.
It is.
Look, how much coverage is he getting, for example? This man arrives and he announces that he'd like to vie. He gets page what in the Standard? Who coincide? But the Standard at least gives him the front page photo. The Nation doesn't. Nowhere on the front page of the Nation does it mention Mukhisa and coming back. However, you have to give credit as well because they've been talking about him for a while.
The Star gives him coverage on page 2 at the bottom in the corner.
Somewhere.
Could it be?
Well, I'm just saying on the right side, yes. Nice picture of him and his wife. Yes, but bottom of the page at the bottom.
So it's something. So let's go to the phone lines anyway, because we have very many callers on the line who are waiting and they'd like to contribute to this. Let's start with Alex. Alex in Eldoret, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today, Alex?
I'm fine, thank you.
A yes or no from you for Mukhisa Kitui?
On the question of whether he is a good candidate to be the president of Kenya, the answer is yes. And on the question of whether he will be the president or he can be the president, the answer is no. This is an elective position. It is not an appointive one. If it was one where you will present his papers to a professional panel and they would elect or select him based on what he can do or what he has done, he would get that position. But this is a mass interview position. And citizens will look at him based on different lenses, based on whether he has a strong backing from where he comes from. For you to be president in Kenya, there are a lot of dynamics that go into it. And the first one that we must not assume or we must not avoid is the fact that you must have a strong backing from where you come from, be it your lingual tribe or just a tribe of people that believe in what you can do. And for Mukhisa, I do not think he has that. That is one. The second one is who politically, who among those people that we call kingpins or what BP Ruto was calling the system can be able to give you that extra push, that extra push for you to become president. So I think for Mukhisa, he has the potential, but he lacks so much in terms of what can be able to propel him to that position. Because citizens will judge him based on different things. He was an MP, a one-term MP. Was that enough to propel him to be president? He's going to be contesting. He's going to be contesting with people who have been deputy president for 2 terms, people who have been vice presidents, people who have been ministers.
He did
and
more
all
than
that.
one term, though.
What does it,
Yes.
Was it 1 term? Sorry.
He did more than a term.
But
He was there
that-
in 97 and 202.
Was that really enough to propel him to?
Was
to
that
be the
10 years, Buana? How many years had President Uhuru Kenyatta been MP?
You also have to ask yourself what's
Before
enough.
he reigned the first time.
But for Kenyatta, it's different. Kenyatta brought something different to the
Okay.
table. He had the
Alex,
backing of the Kikuyus. and
Alex,
those-
thank you. Let's hear from John in Kasarani. Have a good day, Alex.
Thank you. You too.
All right. John in Kasarani, good morning.
Morning to you. Hi.
Very well, thank you.
Good job, you guys.
Asante sana.
My name is John. I'm 30 years of age. And I would like to say, I think from Alex, we've been fed the same narrative over and over again. It's all about tribal politics. And as a youth, I think we're tired of the same. And as a majority of the people in Kenya, it's time we change the narrative. The same people we always see in the ballot box. Now we get a new guy with a good track record. I think it's time we try.
So you're willing to give him a try?
Exactly. I'd rather say, and it's time the youth to change the narrative right now. It's time we change. So I think the youth right now should not have any excuse about tribal politics, about this guy has been just the way Alex has said. I think it's time we do it.
Thank you, John. Have a lovely day in Kasarani. Let's go to Elbagon, where another John is there. Good morning, John.
Morning, how are you?
Very well.
Yeah, there's the ideal and the reality.
Yeah.
And what Muga was telling me is the reality. While Eric and Do, you were talking about the ideal.
Yeah. We're looking to the
Unfortunately
future. Muga is telling us about the past. We're telling you about the future.
Past. He's telling you about the ideal. He's telling you about the ideal. The reality. I mean the reality. You're talking about the ideal.
Okay.
Unfortunately for us, we are still tribal as a nation. We are still looking at people from where they came from. Remember the famous Martin Luther King speech that people will not be judged by the color of their skin.
Yep.
I think we have not reached there as a country. We are still being judged by where we come from.
Still a dream.
And the most unfortunate thing is that we have even institutionalized. That's why it is in our constitution.
Yeah.
We say tribal balance. I mean regional balance. It's not regional balance. It's tribal balance. And when you institutionalize some things, then it becomes very difficult to remove them from the people's mind.
We hear you, John.
So
Thank you.
Mukhisa Kitui is behind. He's a good candidate, but unfortunately, it's not the ideal.
Asante, John.
It's the ideal, but not the reality. Thank you.
Jimmy in Malindi, good morning.
Good morning, Sue. How are you?
Very well, thanks, Jimmy.
Fine, thank you. Okay, what I can say is this. I have been following Mukhisa Kitui. Remember, I told you I designed the emblem, the flag, the currency about United Federal Republics of Africa.
Yep.
And if you look at Mukhisa Kitui, if you look at his speeches, he is always talking about the small trader. How can we lift up the small trader? It's the hustler party, but not hustler narrative. You see, because he's thinking about the low mwananchi, one. Secondly, trading across Africa region. Now, we are saying about his ability, yes? Remember, who is in charge until he surrenders the sword of leadership? It's Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
That's true.
And Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta said very clearly that he's not going to leave this country in the hands of people. The credibility of this the NASA man is called Wamalwa.
Who? Musalia Mudavadi?
No, this Mudavadi and Wetangula.
And Wetangula.
About Wetangula, we know about the Japan land. About Mudavadi, we know about Makaburi. Those things have been silent. But you will just see them now coming out that if you have ever
stolen,
been involved in any corruption or any illegal deal, your record is not clean. And if you look at the line of the people that we have in the presidential candidature, you will find that the only person who is likely to be given the mandate to vie for presidency is Mukhisa Kitui.
So you think he's coming in and he already has his path prepared for him?
Mukhisa Kitui has, according to the system, the way it has been arranged, Mukhisa Kitui is the number one candidate. And let me tell you, I was supposed to be at the airport myself.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I was supposed to be handing him the currency that I designed for United Federal Republics of Africa at the airport. Because I believe not in tribal backyard anymore. Because look at the Kikuyus. Look at Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya is blowing the hustler narrative big time. You see, and here, we have to realize as Kenyans, about presidential, it is a different
It's a different story.
That we should never leave it on either on any narrative.
Yep.
Because we have had how it has affected us.
That's true.
From Mount Kenya region,
Jimmy,
especially me living in the coast region.
Jimmy, thank you. I think let's hear from other callers because I have 3 others on the line. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Have a lovely day in Malindi. Ochieng Otieno in Oyugis, good morning.
Morning.
How are you today?
I'm okay.
Yes or no for you when it comes to Mukhisa Kitui?
To me, I think Mukhisa Kitui is a big dreamer. Okay, according to Mukhisa Kitui is a good candidate. According to the policy he has, Mukhisa Kitui can really make it. But for now, I think Mukhisa Kitui need to postpone his dream till maybe 2044. Maybe that's the time when Mukhisa Kitui can be qualified presidential candidate.
Good
because
Lord.
for now,
23 years from today. Why?
Why?
I think, looking at Mukhisa Kitui, when was Mukhisa Kitui an MP?
Just the other day until 2007.
And till 2007, what did Mukhisa Kitui do?
One would have to ask his constituents, wouldn't one?
Okay, according to me, I don't know what Mukhisa Kitui did. I don't know what Mukhisa Kitui has done to the entire Kenyan community. Okay, what I know is that he has a capability to lead Kenyans, but Mukhisa Kitui now is not ready for now.
Okay.
I think
Thank you,
Mukhisa Kitui should ask people like Pastor Mwiru what really happened the other day. You can't just wake up and say you want to be a president.
Thank you, Ochieng. We hear you. William Indiani, good morning.
Morning to you guys. You well?
We're all well.
Yeah, I think the one question that is coming out is that Kenyan politics is also a factor of resource. Your marginal propensity to actually come out of nowhere and become a Kenyan leader at the presidential level, I'm looking at two variables, resource and time. That have you had enough time to do your groundwork so that people are you've been able to map out where your strongholds are, because you might think your backyard is a stronghold, but realize another region like Coast is your Awiti. I mean, Awiti has a stronghold in Nyali, and he's not from Nyali, he's from Nyanza. And then resource, the resource that will be able to you'll be able to utilize to push you to do your groundwork. Does he have time? That's the question that I would ask myself, and I think he does. He has time. Is that time backed up with the resources so that he might be able to zunguka in all the constituencies that we have to be able to sell his agenda? That is another thing that I would look at. And I think if I'm trying to exclude the discussion of elitism, the discussion of tribe and all, and I'm now looking at it from on a fair platform. What are the other variables that you look at? That's my contribution.
Thank you very much, William. Let's hear from Hussein Mohammed. Hussein is the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce in Isiolo. Hussein, good morning.
Good morning, everybody there in the room.
Asante.
Good morning, Jim.
Yeah, mine. I just want to say hi to the lady.
Hello, good morning.
I'm always watching. I always watch the Spice. Now, mi nasema hivi, Mukhisa Kitui, mimi namjua yeye wakati alikuwa minister ya trade. I met him. I know him. He's a politician, and he was appointed by Kibaki's government to become the Minister of Trade under the NAC government. He is competent, he is a politician, and also a technocrat. I think the time of tribal chiefs, tribal leaders, warlords is now over. I am very happy Mukhisa Kitui has just come on board. I think this is the time that we need to think about Mukhisa Kitui, what he has done for this country internationally, globe-wise. So I support him. I wish he comes to Isiolo and talk to the private sector, business people, small people. Mukhisa Kitui is Mr. Right among the all people who are looking for position of the presidency.
Hussein, the lady is smiling ear to ear. He's listening to you.
I need a flower from her, Valentine. But by the way, I'm 65, but all is gold.
All is gold. Thank you very much, Hussein.
Thank you.
Asante sana. All right. Also, a couple of other comments coming in on social media. Let's sample some of those.
All right. So, Sir Harun Wafula says he can be the president we need as a country, but his timing is questionable. Interesting about that. He's a good candidate, only that he has no chance in this politically, ethnically based country. It's so sad and unfortunate for him. That's what Joseph Mungai says. He can, though his timing is poor. A bigger portion of Kenyan voters do not know him. So, all right. So, other comments. Yesterday, I watched his interview and he had no difference at all. I cannot say he wasn't ready, because for someone who publicly declares to be a presidential aspirant, but looking at his background, I can congratulate him. But it looks like it would be a joke. He was exposed badly. It would seem as if he did not know what he was doing, that he just did his KCSE and he seems better than everyone else in his village because he went to the university. But on the ground, things are different. Brian Kuyanda says, I'd rather cast my vote and vote for this man than the other obvious fellas.
Alternative leadership is being sought.
Absolutely.
There's a growing number of people who would rather vote for somebody else. If you look at the last, say, 3 elections, okay? 2007, 2013, 2017, and the other candidates that presented themselves. If you just start with the 2017, how many other candidates were there apart from the 2 main candidates that we like calling main candidates there, Uhuru Ruto and Raila Kalonzo? There were these other very many other candidates. And those, if you just combine the total number of votes that they got, that's a substantial number of people who are saying, I'd like something different. I'd like someone different. Same thing in 2013. Those who voted for Musalia Mudavadi, Martha Karua, Peter Kenneth, Paul Mwite, Abduba Dida, those, combine them, put them together, over 1 million voters.
That thinking has actually been put into practice before. The original Ford had that same thinking. They split. Because if you look at the votes that the president got, those who didn't vote for him were more
than those that voted for
precisely. If you look at the configuration of NAC or any of these bodies that we've had, that is the platform that they have used. And if you look at bringing together all these people and all these leaders into one forum, yes, it is actually a workable formula. However, you have to bring this coalition of yours and convince the voting public that your coalition is a better coalition than the other coalitions which already exist.
Yep.
You see, that's why I talked about packaging this good thing that you have and ensuring that it resonates with this person who's going to vote. If it doesn't, then I was very clear, then it is not useful. It is useless. You have to package it.
I got to give it to these fellows, though, who've already compacted this idea so tight that people then need to be convinced about the better alternative when it comes to governance.
That you can't think of
That you
anything
can't
else.
think of anything else. I have to give it to them.
I am the only option you
Right.
have. If you look at any other thing, look, these are the options. What do they have?
But these are people
look at
who
me and me
understand
and
their,
just-
but they
you
understand,
only
but they
They've
have
done it
me to
very
vote.
well.
but they understand their trade.
They've done it very well until Kenyans need to be convinced that you're in a hole, but Kenyans need to be convinced that here is dry land upon which you can walk and sort out yourself. But you are in it and you can see that it's bad. But you need to be, somebody needs to come and convince you that one is actually better for us.
These
That's
people
some
you think
serious
are
work.
in a hole
And I think they
believe
did
they
a
are.
very good job by compacting that thinking into the minds of people.
Do.
And then to say that here is a better option for you, it could be anyone, anybody that is in a position that could maybe lead or govern better. But to say that the thing that stops you from selecting that person is where they are from, what they've been able to convince you of in the past. And then I'm even shuddering to think about people who may have brilliant
Even
ideas
trying
about how
to
to lead this
obliterate their
nation,
contribution.
right?
Even if you talk about
Who have-
politics, what has this person done? Look, people start asking, so what has Kivuda Kibwana in that whole story of the second liberation, in the journey to a new constitution, he was
vital,
right there,
critical in that
right
movement.
in there.
As was Mukhisa Kitui.
Mukhisa Kitui was right there in the second liberation.
And we're still asking the
Information
question.
of Ford, in going into the second, in 92 campaigns, 97 campaigns, 2002 campaigns, Mukhisa Kitui has played the politics of the country. But no,
And
all
look at other
that,
people. And
it's
look at
been
other
packaged
people
like
who
he's a
may have
newcomer.
been,
He's not.
Look at other people who may have been laying low, who may have a brilliant blueprint of how you can get this country, even if it's one step from here to the next. But then guess what? They're going to hide in their coven much longer, because these are the narratives that are being put out there right now, saying, "Oh, you know what? Nobody may really know who I am because of where I'm from, so I'm not going to bring this forward." Do you know how much you would have lost? Do you know how much is being lost at the moment because they're hiding under this narrative? Or because they're shrouded by this idea that you cannot lead if you're not known. You cannot lead if you're not from the particular place. You cannot lead if nobody has seen you before. Maybe you have brilliant things. And even if nobody knows you, what if you have an idea that could be the winning one? But you won't come out. Nobody will bring you forward because what would seem most important elements, nobody can resonate with. It's very sad and it's a pity.
What's your tribe?
It's not just the
If
tribe.
you look at the campaign,
tribe, Eric. Because
What's your backyard?
even with these tribal issues that we keep discussing, people who vie for political positions, ranging from MCAs, MPs, and what have you, in these very same cocoons, they also have to fight. Remember, here you're not speaking a different language, same language as all these people, and yet this narrative we're talking about still applies. If you do not, and I'm repeating it, if you don't package whatever you have so that it resonates with these people, and what it means is you have to understand what this voting population, these people
the
understand.
language of the voter.
Believe me, whether you want to be an MCA or whatever you want to be, or you want to be a president, you will not go anywhere. The people who seem to resonate understand this, and that is why you listen to what they say. There's nothing complicated in the messaging, nothing complicated. But the thing that they do, the people listen, feel this person is with us.
Now, the message that should go out, if anybody is listening, it's clear. The message that needs to go out is package this thing now in a manner in which people see that where they are and where you actually want to take them with what you have is not that far. It's in the packaging of the messaging that we're talking about here. Because people have used this other messaging for yonks, and that's where people are still stuck. To get people in this day and age to still think that the thing that cannot liberate you is because of where you're from. Come on, man.
Look, when the group that met Mukhisa, there were young people in that grouping, but they were dancers. I'm just making a comment here.
Right.
And I'm saying about perception. I'm talking about the optics of it. Okay. Were they Sukuti dancers?
They were traditional dancers.
Traditional dancers from where?
It was Luya.
Precisely. So, what I'm trying to explain
So he already understands.
But he
He's
does
already
understand
packaging
it. I
himself.
mean, this is a seasoned politician.
So he's already packaging himself with that.
He understands it well. Remember when he lost his seat in Ford, Kenya, the guy moved. He moved to New Ford, Kenya. There was some movement, all right? This is not a newcomer to politics. This gentleman is a seasoned politician. But anyone with a youth agenda, I would have expected that the vast majority of people coming to meet him were throngs and throngs of young people. In Nairobi, it would have sent the message, you know something? Young people support this person. Now, if you want to understand somebody who understands that narrative, look at the messaging that someone like the deputy president has. The person we have created as his nemesis, Raila Odinga, has. Man, you see many, 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 many young people, throngs and throngs of it. Now, those are people who have understood how to package their message so that the person who's listening to it understands that this individual is with me.
Okay. Time for us to take another break and say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home. The conversation continues on Spice FM. If you're in Nairobi, you can tune in. We are on 94.4. If you are in Mombasa, it's 87.9. In 102.5 Kisumu, 96.0 in Nakuru, 96.7 in Eldoret, 90.9 in Nyeri, and Malindi is 97.7. You can also live stream the show wherever you are on your mobile device. Spice FM KE on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter as well. Thank you very much for tuning in to us on KTN Home. You can tune in to Spice FM for continuation of the conversation on Mukhisa Kitui. In the next hour, we ask ourselves, what is this? Should William Ruto resign as deputy president? Should he not? Should he obey an order, direct command from his boss? Or should he not? Keep it right here. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
So we still have 3 minutes to conclude on this matter of the suitability of Mukhisa Kitui as President of the Republic of Kenya. Everybody who's called here said, yeah, Mukhisa is good. He can be a good president. But. So why is this but coming in?
There is always a but. Always.
But you see, the but is... But go back to Luya, Unity, Western. Where do you come from? Do you have that support? Why must we operate like that? It's the same question that's being asked of these other candidates. Dr. Alfred Mutua goes around the country saying, I'd like to be president. Lakini, where do you come from? Professor Kivuda Kibwana, Lakini, now you, but Kalonzo is still there. What is this? When Abduba Dida vied for president twice, did people ask him why? Do you even know which county Abduba Dida comes from? But his message resonated with people.
Abduba Dida was liked.
That means that there's a possibility of actually people just looking at you and thinking, let me hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, and look at one of the democracies that even when their presidential election was happening and even in the inauguration in the US, the whole world, Kenya was watching the United States at that point and said, oh, what a wonderful thing. An immigrant, first woman, first outsider, this, that, vice president of the United States. Possible that she could even become the president in the future. Did you hear Kenyan saying, actually, she should have gone back to India and asked Indians whether she can
How many local...
Her father...
Did you
it's
hear?
her mother who came from India. Her father did not.
It doesn't matter. They still see her as a conventional American, and saying that if a non-conventional American could come in and take this position, because the thing is, her
But
father
there was the
being
issue of minority.
minority,
Does she have a minority support?
playing,
Blah,
playing,
blah, blah.
playing the role here, because the thing is, you can be American, but then if there is a little bit of you that comes from a minority, that is what now has made
Go back into.
you've gone back.
You know, you have the support
Did
of the
you
minority.
hear Kenyans telling Obama, does he have the support of Kenyans in Siaya County? No. But when it comes to the things now that
But
can
was
govern
Obama
you,
vying
try
for a
to play.
seat in Kenya? Surely.
It's an example. And what did I premise it on? I premise it on the fact that a democracy that Kenyans take super, super interest in and looked at it and lauded it and said, this is a fantastic thing. If you can use that element of interest, you can apply the same thing here.
Okay. We'll soon have Dr. Mukhisa Kitui in this studio to ask him all these questions and ask him, are your affairs in order when it comes to Western Kenya? Are your affairs in order before you now present yourself as presidential candidate for the entire country? Good morning. Keep it right here. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room. It's coming up to 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Traffic.
There's still some on Mombasa Road trying to get into the CBD. Not too badly, though. Actually, not doing too terribly for a Monday morning. We did see a hold up of traffic on Thika Road today coming into the CBD, and that's still trying to stop folks from getting into the city, but it doesn't look too bad, right? The eastern and southern bypass is looking good as well. So hopefully we get through this one without too much trouble today and start off the week well. Tell us if anything goes out of sync, all right? Spice FMKE, that's how you can get to us on Twitter. Text on 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, it's 2 minutes after 9. This conversation continues, and it happens every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Spice FM. We begin every hour with the day's proverb.
Without a leader, black ants are confused.
Sasa hiyo ni ya wapi?
It is actually Ugandan.
Ugandan. Okay. Without a leader, black ants are confused.
Remember, this particular kingdom of these inhabitants of our planet, their leaders tend to be queens.
All leaders are queens.
Yes. And as I said, the queens are usually much bigger in size. So, much
They're
bigger.
fed and all.
Yes, so if you actually, they are also responsible for the continuity of that community. They're the ones who produce the eggs and what have you. And they don't do much movement. Yes. There, you see, this
Have
is
just one job to do.
These communities have very clear, defined roles. Very, very clear. Yes. There are those who fetch. There are those who consume. There are those who ensure that the community continues and they keep delivering. And that feeding is what helps with this. It's a very...
And they understand that the woman is the boss.
They understand that... they understand clearly that the woman is the boss. That's why we refer to her as queen.
Right.
Yes. So.
Okay. About a king bee.
It is important that somebody has a moment.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Even if it lasts just a little longer than a little while, it is good.
It is good.
But a moment.
Okay. So let's talk about what we saw. The conversation between... Where was it that we saw? When a house is... the father and mother are not in talking terms, they use the children to communicate. Tell your mother that I'd like some tea.
Tell your father to go get it for himself.
Use the children to communicate.
They do. Huh? They do. If the other relatives in the house,
leo nitachelewa, mfunge tu mlango. Leo nitachelewa. Sawa daddy. And then you put the baby down and you leave. You have basically told everybody, don't expect me, I'm coming in late.
And that baby, the language they speak is still goo goo gaga.
Goo goo gaga. They don't understand a thing.
And they're looking at you and wondering, this big person, what on earth are they saying? And why do they think they have to keep moving me up and down?
Yes.
Destabilizing my equilibrium.
So we saw a similar thing happen over this weekend, okay? So the father comes and tells us, tell that guy, if he's not happy with the way things are running, if he does not support the things that we are doing, the constitutional moment that we are in, if he cannot even conjure it up in his mind, he just steps aside and let us, who want to push this forward, push it forward. And then Mama comes and tells us, go and tell that guy that we were put together and let no man put us under. Right? And we are the consumers, so we are sitting here. So basically I'm talking about the president. The president was speaking as he was going around Nairobi Metropolitan inspecting projects and launching some of the projects that are complete. Some water station here, some health facility there. And in one of those instances, he had a message, a direct message to his deputy. And this is what he said.
Na hakuna haja ya kuinsight wa Kenya wapigane wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Unakuja unasema kwa mdomo moja serikali ni mbaya, alafu kwa mdomo mwingine ati tumefanya kama serikali. Kwani serikali ni ngapi? Mnajua serikali ngapi Kenya hii? Ni moja ama ni mbili? Si ni moja? Si ni moja? Kama unataka uzuri wake, kae naye. Kama unataja ubaya wake, toka uache wale wengine waendelee. Lakini huwezi kuja na mdomo moja unasema hii, mdomo mwingine unasema matusi ya wale ambao mko ndani yao na mmesema mnafanya na wao. Ama ni namna gani wenzangu? Kwerago heshima sio? Tuheshimiane jameni. Na tukiheshimiana Kenya itakuwa nchi nzuri, itakuwa nchi ya maana, itakuwa nchi safi, itakuwa nchi ambao Wakenya wanajivunia.
Heshima sio utumwa. Okay? You cannot, be speaking from the left side of your mouth and saying, we are not doing, the government has not been able to do this and the other. And then on the other, you are taking credit and saying, we have done. We have, since we got elected into this government, we have done this and the other. Kwani serikali ni ngapi? If you're tired, get out. Now, he has not mentioned mama anywhere, but the message is clear, enda ambia mama yako, kama anaona hii nyumba haimfai, kama hizi curtains zimemchokesha na ile chakula tunakula hapa sio mzuri, atoke akwende. Clear. Is it not?
Oh, it's very clear. It's very, very clear now. I mean, you can't be complaining up and down every day you go. You tell this is a problem, this is a problem, and then you got to decide. Look, we're not dealing with something that is. You decide. You don't like it, let it be this way. You don't like it, let's move. It can't be that you complain but you're sitting there. You can't have your cake and eat it. You complain about it and you don't like it. If it's too hot, then move.
But I think the deputy president has proved that actually you can have your cake and eat it. Yes.
How?
Well, he's deputy president. And yet talks.
And there's a cake.
And there's a cake. And he's eating it. Look, he will say things that he feels the government isn't doing right. But he says it in a way that seems to imply that he, the deputy president of Kenya, is actually at odds with whatever is going wrong in the government in which he is the deputy president.
Yeah. Okay. And he's clear on why things are going the way they're going.
Yes, and he will also state where the problem began, where the rain started beating us, and where all the development projects. And again, today is a day for me to actually also lament about the things which confuse me. Okay?
Please.
Because It appears from the narrative I hear, and it isn't. This can't just be put at the doorstep of the deputy president. The other people who are aligned, who we say are aligned to his, who also have the same narrative. So it's like everything that has gone wrong in the Jubilee government has to do with Raila Odinga.
It's just not true. Let's just call it out as it is. It is not true. It is a falsehood upon which now is being used to build these narratives that are being built. It's just not true. And if you wanted to do a timeline of events of how things started to, you could actually come out with this information and put it out there. It is very nice. It is great ammunition for this particular battle that you're fighting, but it is not true. That things went south when the handshake took place, and then we started to see these other things, BBI, because I have my own reservations about BBI and such. But you cannot say that things now went into a shambles because of the handshake and BBI. Sorry.
What Mama is doing,
but there were certain things that were not happening before
what
that.
Mama is doing is not something that Mamas have not done before. Blame the other woman. That other woman, he starts going to that home, or he starts now, why are we no longer eating the way we used to eat? It's because now he's feeding two homes.
Meanwhile,
it's because now he's doing all these things. It's because he's entertaining.
The house, before the paint was even dry on your new walls, you were already looking outside at another house saying, actually, I like this one better.
You know the analogy that Eric is giving is a nice one, and it makes for useful discussion. It's like as though women marry themselves. Look, you are talking about another woman. Why aren't you looking at the person who actually brings about the marriage, the male person? Why do you keep saying it's this other person? I hear people saying this woman broke up a home.
Yes.
No. Why? Look, do you really think that foothold that this other individual has would not exist if they were not allowed to have that foothold? Surely. Did they force themselves into that? An understanding is arrived at.
My man.
Had she not come.
Had she not come. But going back to the issue of the president saying Heshima ni utumwa, and basically the president saying
Heshima si
utumwa,
bro.
Heshima si utumwa,
yes.
and him sounding like he's saying I feel disrespected by this other person. This was a response from the deputy president a day after, barely 24 hours later.
Mimi nimemheshimu rais sana. Yeye ndiye mwenye kusema kwa hii serikali. Na sijawahi kusema kinyume ya rais kwa sababu ya heshima. Hata kama kazi ambazo ningekuwa nafanya mimi kama naibu wa rais inafanywa na wengine, mimi pia nimeheshimu uamuzi huo. Kwa sababu mimi nataka umoja katika taifa letu la Kenya.
I'm now completely confused. Completely.
He's saying, go tell your father that he misreads me. He thinks I disobey him, that I disrespect him. I actually don't. Even though there's another woman whom he's cavorting with, I respect his decision, I respect him, and I am still in this home.
And that's why I'm complaining.
Go tell your father.
And that's why I'm complaining. And that's why
the only thing that I keep doing
when
is
he
raising
told me
issues.
to stop campaigning, I, of course, immediately did not stop campaigning. Here...
What I am doing is in advancement of our home.
What I'm hearing here is...
If I want us to make this house bigger, if I want us to get... accelerate the process of acquiring the next plot,
Eric,
so that then we can start a cow dairy farming business nearby. This is
Eric,
what I want us to
I'm hearing is...
But this other woman has come and told us, instead of this big four agenda of buying this plot, this one is telling us, let's go and buy a river.
Let's buy a dam.
What I'm hearing here is, please forget everything that I have said previously, okay? Just listen to what I'm saying now, okay? And please don't consider anything I've done before. Ignore all that. Just listen to what I'm saying now. Isn't it?
All these other things that I said,
No, you
prior
put them
to
aside.
this conversation that I'm having, even this
No,
thing that I'm saying right
no.
now, it doesn't matter. Ignore it all. I actually do respect you. Forgive me if I have said anything that will give you the impression that I don't respect you.
I respect you so much. That's why I'm pointing out. Even when you've given my job to somebody else, I will still stay here. I still respect you.
So, Eric, you're saying, so even when it appears I'm disrespecting you, I'm actually respecting you.
I'm respecting you. It
That's
doesn't
it.
mean that disagreement is disrespect.
Even when people who support me downright and outrightly insult you,
I
we
say
are,
nothing, but I respect
we are respecting you.
Those are the children we are both raising. They are ours. When they are ill-mannered, it's also because you are never here to also offer the fatherly figure and counsel. You are there cavorting with that other woman going to buy rivers and I don't know what else you're buying. Instead of being here to help us raise our children. So when our children are misbehaving, please go tell your father not to blame me. I have so much on my plate.
Political doublespeak is not unusual. It's not unusual at all. But what I've been hearing and why I'm confused, it's gone to new heights. These are different levels. And when I say I'm confused, it's because I genuinely am. And I ask myself, all right, so what really at the end of the day are we supposed to do? Are we, every time utterances are made, are we to suspend the functions of our memory and simply just listen to what is being said then? And then for how long must we carry on with that? Because something new is going to come. So what do we do?
I think we need to ignore it.
The flexibility of our mind should be such that every time something new comes about, that's what we believe.
I think actually people, we're saying we who now, you, Kenyans people,
Yes,
right?
me, Kenyan.
I think people just need to ignore it because it's going to be something today, something else tomorrow. And then I think we need to now go in hearing these things with a weighted opinion then about how does it really affect you, right?
Then-
how does it really affect you? And how does it affect your decision moving forward in terms of who's going to lead you? Because it would appear that these things that are being said would sway you in one direction or another. But does it really change? CT, since you heard those things that were said Friday, Saturday, has anything in your life
City's
changed?
mind is set.
Okay, Eric. Since you heard these things Friday, Saturday, has anything
You,
really
you,
changed?
you must pay attention when the prophet of God speaks,
That's
okay?
why I shifted my attention to him.
When he makes utterances about other people's minds, you must pay attention.
Has anything changed for you significantly since you heard these things?
Significant
Have your beliefs or where you stood on Thursday night, okay, let's even say Friday afternoon, and then what you heard Friday evening, Saturday, has it really changed? Has there been a shift in the way you've in the way you've thought, or reservations that you had taken because you heard people speak in this manner? Has they changed?
Do you want
Now,
me to respond or just listen?
Yes. Has it changed?
Okay.
Has it changed?
Actually, no. Yes, in this sense. I'm now waiting to hear
The next one.
how. Yes, no, I even have an idea because I'm waiting to hear how the Deputy President actually supports the BBI. And everything that he has been saying has been just the thing that you ought to do. He actually has been interrogating this particular document and everything around it.
Actually, the Deputy President is on record just a couple of days ago saying he is not really against the BBI. Just bring the document for people to understand.
He's also on record saying just a few days after that, that he will make peace with Uhuru after the BBI.
After the BBI. The thing is, he has no issues with
why
BBI.
you're
yeah?
confused.
He has no issues with this BBI thing. It's just that he will not spend... His focus is Big Four. This BBI story, he doesn't have a problem with it if you can come and explain it to him. Now that you've decided that you want to go and buy the river with that woman, you go buy... Once you've bought the river, you'll come back home.
Eric,
we are now going to come back
The president is on record, saying, I don't. He also didn't understand. I'm glad that he also doesn't understand things because, like me, also doesn't understand certain things. Because when the BBI committee was being formed, he said the deputy president was a part and parcel of the people. Yes, so he doesn't understand. I'm glad. I'm not the only one who doesn't understand. I have good company.
Good company.
Yes.
You're in good company, aren't you? Let's take a break at this point. We are in the back and forth, the seesaw of political doublespeak by a politician. So, on the one hand, it said this, on the other, it said the other. The president expressing frustration, asking his deputy, if you're unhappy, surely, why not just step aside? And the deputy coming to say, but we were elected together. I will serve by your side until the end. You found me and you found a good thing. 18 minutes after 9. Let's take a break and see whether, and then we come back and continue the conversation. We'd like to hear from you as well. Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, and Twitter. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. They are smart, They are funny and unfailingly entertaining. They are the adults in the room, and they are here to help you be the best adult you can be.
Just to be very honest with each other here, not all of us are going to get tall, dark, and handsome. Not all of us are going to get 0.5s or chotaras. Some of us have to learn the short guys. Some of us have to learn those pot-belly people. Some of us have to learn older men or younger men.
Spice.
Don't ask your partner if he or she enjoyed it. I think the approach should always be, if she's enjoyed the journey, she will let you know.
Yeah.
She'll tell you, hey, maze, your bus is big. Mi sijaipanda basi kubwa kama hii. Juu hata hii basi, hiyo mafuta tulieka yote, imetuleta hapa vizuri. Hii basi iko na nguvu. Hii basi iko na nguvu.
Spice.
Now into a relationship, it becomes like you've stopped your life, and then now me, I am your life. You see, like, what happened to your life? What happened to you? What did you used to do?
And women are guilty about that. No,
is your wife listening to the show?
Whether it is matters of the heart, finances, or work that's weighing on your mind, worry not. The adults in the room will help you stay winning.
All right, so through today, we're going to see highs of 26 in Nairobi, a chance of rain later on. Highs of 25 in Nyeri, 17 and mostly cloudy. Partly sunny conditions in Nakuru, going to highs of 28. 25 will be the high in Eldoret. It's sunny at 15. It's also sunny in Kisumu at 20, going to highs of 30 today. 31 the high in Kakamega. We'll see partly sunny conditions right now at 20. 27 and mostly cloudy, going to highs of 32 in Mombasa. 32 also will be the high in Malindi. It's 28 and mostly cloudy now. Mostly sunny conditions in Kampala at 22. 27 and sunny in Dar es Salaam. Highs of 32. 24 the high in Johannesburg. It's mostly cloudy at 18 and mostly cloudy in Lagos at 27, going to highs of 32. The highs will be 33 in Kinshasa. It's mostly cloudy at 25. And in Beijing, it's sunny at 4, highs of 7 and lows of -5. Clear conditions in Paris at 3, highs of 7 and lows of 4. And light rain now in London at 7, going to highs of 13 and lows of 9. And finally in New York, it's mostly cloudy. It's 2 degrees and there's a winter storm coming up. That'll be the high, coming down to lows of 1.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Continues. So the president's sounding very frustrated, wondering why his deputy would go around appearing to oppose what the president himself is right there advocating and advancing. And he says, look, if you feel so frustrated, why don't you just step aside? I feel disrespected. Mwambie, heshima, si utumwa. And the deputy president comes in and says, I respect the president very, very much. In fact, he goes ahead to say that between I and the president, I know my position. I am the deputy president. He is the boss. He is the one who calls the shots. This is what he said.
There is absolutely no contest. And I respect the decision of the president, and the president calls the shots. He is in charge, and he takes all decisions. And I have not countermanded any decision. Hakuna mashindano kati yangu mimi na rais wa Kenya. Yeye ndio mkubwa wetu, tunamheshimu. Mimi ninafanya kazi ile ambaye rais ameniambia nifanye. Na hakuna kazi hata moja ambaye rais ameniambia nifanye na sijafanya.
He is the boss. He calls the shots. He makes all the decisions. He assigns me duties. I will do the duties to the best of my ability. There is no competition at all between I and the president.
So
Go
long as
tell your father.
If I suspend, as I said earlier, whatever I've heard before, read before, and just take this as gospel, this is good. But unfortunately, my mind can't do that. Because I recall when whatever followed the discussion around the BBI with the deputy president, it was vitriol. That's one way of putting it. And condemnation of it. And I thought, but these people seem to have started this handshake and didn't consult the deputy president. Surely he has no wonder he's kicking such a fuss.
You would have thought that would be.
No, I said, okay, they didn't consult. He's the deputy. Why did they leave him out? time lapsed, and the president said, actually, you know something? He doesn't understand. This choosing these people, the deputy president was present. He was there. It's not as though he was done. And I thought, no.
So this is one politician who is standing up to speak and say that this other politician was there at a public forum.
Yes.
And then daring the other politician, if it's true, if it's not true, let him come and say.
Yes.
And you expect that, and you want to take these politicians' word 100%.
Remember my point, my perspective.
I took it with a dollop of salt.
My perspective,
like, this one.
Eric, was it has been confusion. This is what I've been saying all along. Because I'm hearing this, then I'm hearing this. Because why should I believe one over the other?
Exactly.
So I'm thinking, hey, what on earth is going on here? But at the center of all these discussions is one person by the name of Raila Odinga. You can call it what you like. You can go around in, you can choose whatever circles you want. But it still is confusing. And I'm seeing the season of further confusion ahead. I'm seeing this double speak. It's going to be quadruple speak, triple speak. I suspect I'm going to be hearing things that will befuddle me even further. So if I was thinking my confusion is complete, no.
It's only just begun.
It has begun. It's just begun. Yes.
Sasa ndio fanya nini? Kueleka mkoko. It's just beginning. This is it. This confusion is all about politicians speaking and the messaging that they want to send. When the deputy president, for example, spoke the way he spoke and said, you know what, there's no contest at all between I and the president. I am subservient to the president. I do not countermand any orders or directions or directives from the president. But at the same time, if the president asked him, why don't you quit? If the president ordered the deputy, you know what, I'm fed up.
Go.
Just, you know what, why don't you just quit, okay?
You see, we have a situation.
Then the other issue will come in, we were elected together.
You know that quitting thing doesn't arise, in this sense. The deputy president knows very well he can't get sacked. He can't. You can't sack him.
And he's not going to give you the joy of quitting.
Nope. The only way you can be rid of him is if he himself decides to rid himself for that position. And it wouldn't be a very wise thing for him to do. Because it would change very... See, this is not a catch-22. I don't know why we insist on the 22, but this is a multiple of 22s. Because, one, the deputy is still the deputy. It doesn't matter what we say. It doesn't matter what he says. He's still the deputy. The discussions are, should the deputy really be in this position that we seem to see him in? Should he present himself as leader of the official opposition in the country with his utterances? And should his followers do the same? But as for him being the deputy, he is the deputy. And unless we change the constitution, he's going to continue being the deputy. And as I said, he can't be gotten rid of. Sorry. To get rid of the deputy is to get rid of yourself.
Okay. So then should we actually have then also turn the plate the other side and say, instead of the president, just challenging his deputy, why, if you feel so out of this whole idea, why don't you quit? Why doesn't the president just call him and explain himself to his deputy?
How do we know he hasn't done that?
He let him come out and say, you know what, I had a 17-hour meeting with this man, and we've just come out of it. In fact, there he is, that's his vehicle living. I was just explaining to him this whole thing, and I was telling him why I'm thinking the way he's thinking, and he does not agree.
If we go by the analogy that you gave, Eric, surely would that be a wise thing to do?
Which one?
To discuss details of the discussions you've had? No. That is ammunition for another day. You don't reveal it now. You give it time. A time will come when it will be appropriate for you to say, you know something, we actually had this discussion, and it was on this day, and this is what we discussed, and this is blah, blah, blah. Right now, what?
Or that you called him and said, let's have a,
I think it would be a powerful...
one-on-one. And
it would be.
It would be a powerful ammunition to use at that point.
Yes.
Because people can clearly see, you've called people and saying, you see him, that's him leaving. Or in fact, you even called the media and So we have just come out of a meeting with my deputy where I've explained to him this and that. There is no day he'll now come and say, those are those things the president was saying, but that sometimes he says things that because he's the boss, I can't just stand up and say, "You're new ongo bwana."
You know why I'm saying this? If you consider, look at the length of time it took for people who are considered to be aligned to the deputy president, lost the positions they had in parliament. It wasn't as though they spoke to them the next day they lost their position. No, it took time. And it didn't happen at once. People were let go of, others came in. We've had a second go at it now. Other people have been let go of. So I am saying that sometimes there are strategic positions that one takes. You may know exactly what happened, but at that particular point in time, you realize, let it be. And remember, the presidency is not devoid of advisors, people who understand the lay of the land. And when I talk about advisors, the president isn't devoid of strategic information that he will receive from people in government whose job it is to gather information. So his decision-making process is usually fairly well informed. Fairly well informed.
So who do we believe then in this whole political back and forth? Or what do? We as the children, when the father and the mother are telling us all these things, why aren't you eating rice? You know, today you're eating rice peke yake because your father did not bring, because your father went and bought meat for the other family. And then the father comes and says, but I bought meat the other day and your mother did not put it in the fridge, so it went bad. So who do we believe? Bottom line is, nakula wali bila nyama.
Actually, it doesn't have to have nyama. You can drink it with strong tea. What am I saying? I am saying I'm not going to focus on what I am being told. No. It's secondary to the issue. Because what is a consistency is the ever-changing narratives. Today it's this, tomorrow it's the other. I would rather focus on the one question, what really is going on here? Are we seeing differences that cannot be reconciled? And the answer is no. We're not seeing differences that cannot be reconciled. These are politicians. There's nothing that has happened here that cannot be mended. Absolutely nothing. Okay? That's number one. Number two, I would ask myself, given when 2022 is, and given that that is the period we keep talking about with reference to the election, what is it that makes the president simply say certain things? Sometimes he's a bit cryptical. He's cryptic, okay? And yet, he has the powers, as we have seen, to actually dent, if not almost halt this forward march that the deputy and his people have. But yet he doesn't. So, something must be informing his actions.
Something is happening.
Yes, there's something that we can't see that is actually happening. And I'm saying that I am going to sit back and watch as it unfolds.
Okay. 9:30. Let's take a break. Let's see how the roads are this lovely Monday morning, and then we continue the conversation. And we'll pick your calls 0719 012 600.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is traffic.
All right, looking a little bit better. Let's look at Mombasa. A little bit of a jam right at the ferry this morning, and folks are complaining about that. Not quite sure what is causing that. but you should be able to get on that soon without any issue. And I think the ferries have been moving 5 up, according to the Kenya Ferry Services this morning, right? Okay, inbound traffic, and that was on the Bomas Road towards Langata, Bagadi way to the CBD. Today, the expressway construction ongoing at the T-Mall Junction and the start of Haile Selassie Avenue around NHIF. There's a problem there. That's what's causing that traffic, in case anybody was wondering. And so we have some traffic right around those areas. Everywhere else seems to be flowing a little bit smoother than it was before. We should be out of traffic hour in about 10 or so minutes. Hopefully we'll not have too much. All right? If you do, talk to us either way. Spice FMKE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
To 10 o'clock. We're having a conversation about what we've heard over the weekend, the president speaking and the deputy president responding. This is what the president started by saying on Friday.
Na hakuna haja ya kuinsight wa Kenya wapigane wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Unakuja unasema kwa mdomo moja serikali ni mbaya, alafu kwa mdomo mwingine ati tumefanya kama serikali. Kwani serikali ni ngapi? Mnajua serikali ngapi Kenya hii? Ni moja ama ni mbili? Si ni moja? Si ni moja? Kama unataka uzuri wake, kae naye. Kama unataja ubaya wake, toka uache wale wengine waendelee. Lakini huwezi kuja na mdomo moja unasema hii, mdomo mwingine unasema matusi ya wale ambao mko ndani yao na mmesema mnafanya na wao. Ama ni namna gani wenzangu? Kuerago heshima sio? Tuheshimiane jamii.
Okay. And then the deputy responded with this a day later.
Mimi nimemheshimu rais sana. Yeye ndiye mwenye kusema kwa hii serikali, na sijawahi kusema kinyume ya rais kwa sababu ya heshima. Hata kama kazi ambazo ningekuwa nafanya mimi kama naibu wa rais inafanywa na wengine, mimi pia nimeheshimu uamuzi huo, kwa sababu mimi nataka
hata
umoja katika taifa letu la
kama naibu ya rais inafanywa na wengine, nimeheshimu uamuzi huo because he calls the shots.
You know how? When they say you should make an apology, and you don't come out and say, I am sorry. You come out and say, I am sorry if you feel that way. So it's not actually a direct apology.
I'm sorry that you feel that way.
I'm sorry that you feel that way. If you feel slighted or if you feel disrespected, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm not sorry directly for that issue. So in this case, you're also passing a message by this apology. So you start off with, I respect you. Even if my job has been taken over by somebody else whom indirectly you've given this position, I still respect you. So even if you have done me wrong, I still respect you. I'm still trying to tell you something.
But remember, this conversation comes in against a backdrop of what can best be referred to as disruption. So if I were to use your analogy, if someone indeed has a wife and her activities are bringing the reputation or bringing disrepute to the family, so that your children have a problem, the possibility of getting suitors becomes an issue. Now, when such things happen, what do many men do? They look for another wife. Or
another companion.
Yes, wife usually. In the African setting, this companion thing, wife. It is you who thinks is a companion. The woman knows she's wife. So you continue thinking she's companion or girlfriend. That's yours. Okay? Or if you marry a woman and you know her background, is that she is somebody who we refer to sometimes derogatively as a woman of the night. And many children later, she decides to go back to her previous life. So what do you do exactly? Where exactly do you lay blame? You knew where you found her. It's not that you didn't know her, neither did she pretend. So many children later, she figures, you know something? this domesticity isn't really my thing. Let me do something else.
Go back.
Yes, let me go to the pastures that
life is boring.
Yes. Look, politics, unfortunately, if we were to refer to it in terms of looking at lines, straight lines or curves, it is never really one thing at any given moment in time. It's chameleonic in nature. There always is changes, and you must go.
Changes.
Yes, the consistency is that there always changes,
and it's changing to suit the environment.
Exactly, and the environment is usually in pursuit of the goals that these individuals have.
Okay,
all right.
As long as it keeps moving and it's camouflaged, it's fine.
Yes.
Okay. Let's hear from Sami in Magarini, Malindi. Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Sami.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Yes, I'm fine too. Yeah, I would like to contribute to the conversation that actually where did the rubber meet the road is when actually the gentleman was welcomed at Arambe House. And that even again we know that there's been a lot of questions within Jubilee. And so today for the president to say that if the deputy president feels that he's being embarrassed, he should slip, I don't think that is the solution. I think there was a we heard about where the president used to sleep, the deputy used to sleep in Mombasa. All the things were removed from the house, and we know that all the responsibilities that the deputy has been doing were actually given to Matiang'i. So that was where that's where all this started. The practice started from there, and I know that the president has been using some plots, some strategies, but also the deputy president has also been successful. Whenever they put an obstacle, he also knows. When the president started removing some of the committees, some of the PSs, some of the ministers from the ministry, they were actually doing it so that they could embarrass the deputy and so that the deputy would opt to quit. But all along, he has not been actually, he has not been in the position to do that because he knows immediately if he does that, then they will have a very good avenue to fund him, maybe to put some allegation and all that. But now they have been trying all the means. But the deputy has been wise, and I don't think it's a good thing for him to resign. He should stick there as long as the deputy president, they can, unless they impeach him. Let them try to impeach him.
So he should stay put.
Yes.
He should stay put. Thank you very much, Sami.
Yes, thanks. Hello.
Asante. Yegon.
Yes, good morning again, Eric.
Good morning.
So my view is that William should not resign. Because this guy has a huge track record of court cases. So for the sake of him and other children to continue getting the share from the father, we should respect the president. Because there is no clear role of the deputy president in the constitution. Ile kazi anasema amenyang'anywa haiko. It is only that the president who decide to delegate to him. So instead, because yeye hajapewa kazi, angekaa chini na kunywe chai pale Karen ama ofisi yake hata iko hapo.
Hapo tu Karen. Na Harambe Annex in town.
Yes, but now if you continue insulting the president, it's like the president. So this guy, you've seen that you can, umejiweza sasa, you can stand for yourself. Now let me see if you can.
Let me show you.
And that's why he's failing. For him to be considered again by Uhuru na hata at least arudishwa awekwe asimamie kitu, he should respect the president because we still have a long distance to go.
So he should, by respecting the president, he should what? Support BBI and stop going around the country in other rallies?
He should start supporting BBI and start answering back to the president. You cannot answer back to the president because he's saying that I respect the president even if you have taken back my job. Now, what are you saying? And
unamwanika kwa umati.
Yes, you are just telling that guy, we are not together. You have taken everything to me. You want me to respect you, and I am naked.
Yeah.
And yet the president, he has not declared that you are naked, but you are saying no. Ona niko uchi na yeye hajasema
uchi. Thank you, Yegon. Thank you, Brian in Nairobi. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. You too?
Good.
We are good.
I think other than what we are seeing, their politics are in play. You see, both the president and the deputy president received some form of intelligence.
Yeah.
And you see, they had a political pact from 2013, then 2017 election, then up to now. Now, I think the handshake upset the DP's political ambition in several ways. You remember, there's a time DP was in an interview, and he said the president consulted him when he was going to the handshake. Then the opposition chief came out and said that was a lie. You get? So we have a retiring president, and we have people with ambition going forward and energy. So when you take up the roles of a DP and assign it to somebody else, and he is a very energetic person who did his PhD while in office, while facing ICC cases, that guy won't stay idle for long. He will find something.
He'll find something else to
do. And we are approaching a general election also. And the president is being insincere here, saying that DP making noise is going against the work of Jubilee. You see, the president himself, from 2008, he started his politics. 2010, when they were in ICC, they started their prayer rallies. It did not stop Uhuru from Kibaki from performing. Even Jubilee 2013, the same thing DP is doing right now, he did from 2013, 2017, and it added a lot of votes to Jubilee. So I don't think DP moving around will stop the president from performing. I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brian.
Okay.
Have a good one. William, we had Dr. Mike on the line. I think he just dropped. Dr. Mike, you can call back. William, good morning.
Morning again.
How are you?
Salama kabisa. Madam was asking why there's traffic in Mombasa. The ferry has decided it's M-Pesa only. There's no cash payment.
Without prior warning. Interesting.
It's only M-Pesa. If you don't have M-Pesa, you go back, find an M-Pesa. You put money, so there are so many cars parked on the road.
Wow.
I wanted to contribute on this thing. You see, I'm just asking myself, what if Ruto was the president and the other deputy was going around behaving the way he's behaving? Would you honestly entertain such kind of a deputy? That is the one thing that I would ask, because the kind of that is absolutely clear.
Okay, your line has gone bad, William. Dr. Mike, good morning.
How have you been? How have you been last latte?
Hey, salama kabisa. Happy New Year.
Happy. Oh yeah, it's not yet too late.
Yeah, until June.
Happy New Year. The next financial year apparently comes in March.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to Ruto, I mean, in my view and personal view, he's the worst thing that ever happened to this country. And this is the reason. You know, the fact that he has never functioned outside government, looking at his history, in my mind and in my own view, he looks like somebody who, once he gets that position, they just pull a Magufuli on us. Nothing scientific about it, but it's really about what I believe Ruto can do. Secondly, he has age on his side. Okay? If I were him, that time when the BBI story started, I would have just gone and just be part of it. Then, along the way, I mean, that would have been the best way to dilute this Raila factor in the whole political scheme. But what did he decide to do? He decides to go to Bomas and start poking holes on what his boss is doing. He starts to poke holes in even the most mundane of issues. In fact, even responding to his boss.
Yeah.
Even if it were you, Latif, and you have somebody there in the office who will never abide by the policies that you lay out for the proper functioning of the office. Will it be kind of you to just keep him in that office?
No.
So Ruto has two options. Resign. I mean, it's already too late, but he has to resign. Because the moment he actually leaves for an impeachment motion to happen, this sympathy card is trying to pull around all over the place. will definitely vanish. He should ask Sonko. Sonko had more votes than the president himself in Nairobi. And right now, he's rotting somewhere. Up to now, I don't know where he is. In fact, he cannot even marshal a crowd at CBD. So he lost it. If I were him, I would try and pull the resignation card right now. That would pull a sympathy card than wait for an impeachment, which I know for sure. If Waiguru was not impeached, that's not to say that she was guilty or anything. And if Sonko was finally impeached and now he's the most irrelevant character around, who does he think he is? That's my view.
Thank you, Mike. Have a good one. Lydia in Parklands, good morning.
Good morning, Spice FM.
Hi.
Eric, City and Ndu. I wanted to say that when President Kibaki took over the 24 years of dictatorship government, he made the government small. Mukhisa Kitui and all of them are good quality to come back again. So Ruto's choice was Sonko as well. So look at the quality we have. We are tired of this dictatorship quality. We need President Kibaki's group to come back again. Mukhisa Kitui will make a good president for the work they did. They reduced ICT, made it tax-free, mobile phones tax-free to introduce ICT to schools. And then Ruto came and he said he wants to give baby laptops and brought all the taxes back again. It's taxes, taxes, and taxes, and only big eaters. We need President Kibaki's quality government back again, like Mukhisa Kitui.
Thank you, Lydia.
Thank you, Spice FM.
Have a lovely day. It's 10 to 10. Let's take a break, a quick break, and then we take more of your calls. 0719 012 600. And also, we'll be looking at the comments you're posting on social media. Good morning.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m.
Spice FM, Nakuru. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Back to the phone lines. Let's hear from Lydia of Nakuru. Lydia, good morning.
Morning. How are you?
We are fine, thank you.
How was your weekend, you people?
It was lovely.
It was good. And how was yours?
Very fine, very fine. Some cool, some rain.
That's good.
Now,
yes,
the president told Ruto to resign. He must respect that, because if you impeached somebody and then you talk, you say you are being talked badly, ati president ameongea vibaya kunihusu, na wewe je umefanya kazi gani ili uweze kurespektiwa? Na utafanya kazi gani kwa wananchi wanaokuhitaji? Kwa sababu wewe unasema nimeongelewa vibaya, na ni kazi gani umefanya wewe?
Nimekuwa sidelined.
Nimefanya nini? You must resign. So, and then in 2022, only God knows who will be a president. And the President Uhuru He's the one who knows who he will leave. He will leave the presidential to wananchi.
And then we'll pick the
So,
leader.
so don't roam around, and nothing you have done.
Asante. Thank you, Lydia.
Okay.
Asante. Have a lovely day.
Pia nyinyi.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Asante sana.
Aya.
Let's hear from Patrick in Vihiga. Patrick, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to say this.
Yes.
President Uhuru is seemingly the only president since independence who has to do with the single deputy for the rest of his presidential period.
Yeah.
Unlike the past three.
Uh-huh.
However, his marriage with the deputy is in separation. Divorce may not be realized, which means anything can happen. The separation may be discussed and they come together at a time. That's my view. Two, the president seems to be a person who becomes irritated once, and once he has spoken his mind, he forgets it very fast. But the deputy president is somebody who has a grudge, and he keeps harping on it from time to time.
Like what example
However,
would you have for that?
Like the way he goes in meetings and talks about it and Willie Manning from time to time.
Is that a grudge, or is that just, this is still your main political opponent?
Yes.
So it's talking about him.
Yeah, the deputy president will say something repeatedly for a long time. That means his heart is not open to release the anger quickly. Yes. Three, both the president and the deputy have an ear to the ground of what is happening in the government and outside the government. And in terms of brilliance in politics, the deputy president is seener than the president.
Yeah.
He is a clever person who calculates his words, and you cannot challenge him on a platform over what he has said. However, to any normal person, just before people gain the momentum, you used to hear from the president's backyard the likes of Honorable Murad and so on, and Mr. Tuoli, saying that they know who will not become president, who will not be on the ballot, but they don't know who will become president.
Yes.
Any person, any leader, any man has feelings like that. We have emotions. So put yourself in the shoes of the deputy president. Won't you react?
You would, actually.
However, I feel with or without the deputy president, the president can continue with the remaining period. However, what hangs on his head, with the deputy or without the deputy, how to fix the economy?
That's his burden.
Yes, that is his biggest problem.
Thank you, Patrick.
However, all the things that are being said about the deputy president, as much as I don't support his line of administration or his procedure of running politics, one day he will walk away with a lot of sympathy. When he complains, his duties have been taken by other people and so on.
He'll get the sympathy votes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So, very many different perspectives to this particular, view on matters as they stand. We have a deputy. We have a president. Those two are bound by the Constitution, unless one is impeached, or unless one voluntarily resigns, or unless one leaves office by way of death. They are there together. Anyway, so tomorrow we'll have more conversations. Tomorrow we'll have a guest host in the studio with us, and this is one of our listeners, Ruben Kigame from Eldoret, will be joining us in the studio tomorrow morning. We'll also have a conversation about National Cohesion and Integration Commission. One of the commissioners will be with us. So it's all about that, about cohesion, about the way towards the 2022 general election and what should happen. It'll be interesting to have one of our listeners in the studio contributing as a guest host. Looking forward to that. City? The proverb from Uganda.
Without a leader, black ants are confused.
Without a leader, black ants are confused. Okay.
You see, the fact that someone is a politician of high standing doesn't mean that they are necessarily a leader. They may think they're leaders, and they may think what they're doing is leading. But if you look at the qualities of what hypothetically or idealistically a leader is expected to do, end result, the lives of the people you lead must improve and it must be better. Yes. So if that doesn't happen, then much as you may think of yourself as a leader, in reality, you're not. You're not a leader. No, you're not.
Okay. So you're just a member of the pack of the ants. You're just in the front row.
You are a person who has a role, and if it's the political field, you're a politician. As for being a leader, a totally different matter altogether.
That's what we do.
Yes.
Different. Thank you very much for tuning into the Situation Room today. Join us again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., God willing. We wish you a lovely day. Now until 3 o'clock, you have uninterrupted music, and then you have Monique coming to take you home on Spice Drive. This is 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. You'll have more conversations in the evening with the adults in the room, Emmanuel, Eric, and Barbara. They'll be here, and then more music until tomorrow morning. Join us then. C.T. Muga, Ndu Oko, and Eric Latif. Wishing you a lovely day. Goodbye.
Now, the first thing you're going to say is to be or not to be. It's going to come up in a second.